Welcome to an episode of Here Be Dragons. I've gotten rid of all the cast today, and it's just me telling a story about unicorns. So just sit back, enjoy the unicorns. Wait, I'm being told. My producers are telling me I can't do that. I have to have the cast here, so I guess, here we go. Hi, everybody. We have Sarah, Glenn, Jared, Lindsay, and DM Jared here today. Thank you for joining in. Thank you for popping into chat. Thank you for listening to all of... Oh, wait, we didn't have our sponsor videos. 2 seconds. I've got a few things to share with you guys. Since I've been struggling to get all of our tech together, I missed the sponsor videos. So let's quickly look at a few things here. We have Caffeinated Kobold as one of our sponsors here. You can get game-themed coffees, so bean or ground, and I think they've released a few other little things in their shop recently, but they're a coffee supplier. You can get stuff like Tavern Blend, Raise the Dead, and a few others. We have some dice going on here, which I can show. These are Blacksmith Craft dice, now known as Heimdall dice. Thank you for that, Mr. Hoy, with the little goblin there. So Heimdall dice, it makes metal dice, but they also have cards and a few other things. You can find them on Amazon. Tons of cool stuff. They've got Dragon Scale dice, I think is their newest line, but they've got 3 separate lines of dice. So take a look at those. Let's see, I don't have the bag right here, but we do have a bag or 2 floating around from Critical Treasures, a really cool Etsy shop that has all sorts of things. Started off with bags and dice trays, but now has advent calendars, dice trinkets, so like you get something for your keychain that you have your favorite die in. You've got all sorts of game paraphernalia. She makes some really cool things. And then I think I'm missing one. Oh, Encounter Plus. It's sitting right in front of me. Encounter Plus is a really cool virtual tabletop tool on iOS and Mac with web connections and all sorts of fun things that you can do. So you can host remote games. They just launched something really cool with, I think it's called the Last Gaming Table, which is a tablet device that sits on your table and interacts with a bunch of different game systems and tools and whatnot. So they released their integration to that. So go take a look at them, and you should see some fun stuff going on with Encounter Plus. Now that you've listened to all of our spiel and announcements, the last few things before we dive into the story is, remember, if you knock currently the cadence off of being the hype boss just below me, you can be the new hype boss and give away a nat 20. Yes, a natural 20, not a free reroll or anything like that. One player or DM of your choice on screen gets to just throw a nat 20 instead of rolling their die. Anything between that, what's that?
You still have some left from last. You have 2.
Oh, I might have 2 left. I don't know.
I have 1.
You didn't use any last week.
I didn't use any, but
He
this week
saves them up for like weeks.
I saved them up for weeks, so
no.
then I can make sure Cadence gets exactly what he wants, and I splatter all the players, and it's done. But you can even add 20 out. Yes?
To be clear, he just wants to slaughter me, not
But,
not the other players. Just
I like the Rocks Fall situation, right?
I
Rocks
mean,
Fall,
I'm doing my
everyone dies?
best with the bad puns. I'm trying to send some of that ire at me, you know.
There you go.
on your behalf.
good luck.
If you want to send anything else towards our players, a $5 tip gets a mild magic scroll drawn. It's one of these beauties. We got a bunch of different little effects that happen in the game. They get randomly assigned out. $10 tip gives a reroll to a player on screen. A $20 tip, I believe, is a friend or foe enters. So I've got a handful of NPCs that'll join. They could be good, they could be bad, they could just be really annoying. So at the $20 tip level, you can see that. Follows, bits, tips, etc., subscriptions all affect the hype boss below me. So now that we've talked all of the other stuff, let's get into some D&D. Who remembers where we left off? I believe there was a very special event that happened that you were waiting for in the inn. Clink. In the little pneumatic tube in the room at the top of the inn, a piece of paper had been shot up from Lock, Stock, and Barrel's hideout below the inn. Now, this was the piece of paper our party was waiting for, as They were looking for something to do, kill some time, wait for a quest. That quest has come. Electrum had sent them their very first step in this wild mayhem that is about to ensue. Now, I think Corrigan was playing around with the pneumatic tube, seeing if he could fly up and down it and use that for transportation purposes. I believe Fizzlepop was hanging out in the room, more specifically in her little bloated bag of holding that she could breathe infinitely in. I can't recall if Lily and Eljor had joined yet, but they were down in the bar just prior to this. So, setting the scene, it is early evening, and the pneumatic tube delivers a message. Corrigan, you're most likely the closest at this point. What is it that you wish to do?
I would open the message and read it. Take a read.
As you take a read, the paper unfurls a bit, and in a very sloppy handwriting, you see the words, "A party, and you're not invited." And just below it, a few little choppy messages. There's a party just down the road. Inside, you'll find many things. ... I do need you to return with gems for your broken items. And recall that there was a glove missing a gem and a spider missing something as far as the items go. The message finishes with, use the building or rooms around if you can't get into the party directly, comma, I have no costumes for you. Good luck, E.
Huh.
The message is directing you to a party just down the road.
Well, it seems we're invited to a party. Well, we're not invited to a party. Thought we're supposed to go to the party. But we don't have costumes. I'm just start waving the paper around.
They didn't say what kind of costumes we were supposed to wear.
Would I have heard
Well, we weren't invited.
You might not have heard it if you were in your bag.
Okay.
You could hear muffled speaking from within the bag.
Okay, then I probably didn't come out. I'm probably still down there.
So Fizzlepop is hanging out in her bag. The rest of you are talking about what you should wear.
I'd like to open the bag to Fizzlepop's bag. Can I do that?
Yeah, as you do, a light breeze kind of blows up, kind of throwing your hair back a little bit, anything that's not tied back. You see inside, Fizzlepop is working on a few things, and the room is fairly well lit, almost like a white box for a photo studio.
Do you happen to have any costumes in there?
Me?
Yeah, she's peeking into your bag as you're working.
Wait, what? Huh? Me?
Yeah, you.
I don't think so. I don't usually... Costumes? What?
Yeah. Yeah, we're looking for some costumes because we just got a note that we're supposed to go to a party.
No,
we're not invited to.
We're supposed to steal things from a party.
And I go, I've got this, and I hold up my spare change of traveling clothes. Or I don't know. That's about it.
I don't think that's gonna work.
Come on, Fizzle.
What?
Let's see. We could possibly go buy some costumes. But it might look suspicious.
Don't be suspicious.
At this hour, there would be a few places still open, but it is just around dinner time and after, so most shops might be closing up for the day, as a heads up.
Do you guys want to go buy some costumes, or do you want to just kind of play by ear and go with what we've got? I just don't know what I'm supposed to
I just
wear.
don't have any coin for that, so
What do you mean? You should. What do you mean you don't know what to wear? Don't you just wear clothes?
I thought you said we had to dress up. We had to wear something. Didn't it?
costume party, right?
It says it's
party?
costume party. I can just go as like an octopus or something.
But do you
Wave an
have
octopus around a neck?
I was gonna say, but do you have an octopus costume?
Wait, so
No,
we were
no,
invited?
no,
We were
no.
invited. We were invited.
I could just go as an octopus, not a costume.
Oh. Well, that's easy for you.
How fancy are the invitations?
We don't know. We're not. We didn't get one.
So we didn't get invited. So that means we don't really have to dress up. We can just like sneak in.
We could go to the event, do a little scouting, and then decide. Maybe? No?
Say we just go as staff.
We could do that.
Chat is giving some options here. If you see an old CVS that's turned into a spirit Halloween, it is that time of season. But I don't think there's a CVS in
Ooh.
this town.
Yeah, I say we go see what the situation is and then come back. If we need to. What time does the party start?
I just don't really
When
see
I
a
walk
purpose in
in?
scouting it out. Don't have
What?
like, how are we gonna get the uniforms of the people without being inconspicuous? And all the shops are closed, so
Oh, but it might
don't-
not be a easy shopping day if that's what you're looking for.
yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I've got one set of clothes and very little money, so going to scout it out means nothing, because unless somebody here has amazing sewing skills, you know, we're gonna just like
Not
make
it.
a uniform that works and looks like that. I mean,
Could you
know.
read that note one more time?
Yeah, the note says, to the best of everyone's understanding, you're not invited to this party, but there are a few items within the party itself that you need to retrieve. Gemstones for the broken items that you have. The glove and the spider. Use what you need. There's a few surrounding buildings if you need to get a vantage point.
So
Okay.
I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna go out of our in room and I assume there's other rooms down the hall.
Yeah, there's a couple. Yep.
I'm gonna start like trying doors.
Just trying to open them or knocking on them? What kind of thing?
Just open them and then do any of them open?
Well, you start down the hallway and you grab a couple handles and rattle them a little bit. As you rattle the second door, you hear, "Hello? Is that the food from downstairs? Hello?
Housekeeping.
I didn't order anything other than a couple beers and some bread. Do you have that?
Yeah, I just need to check a couple things first.
What do you mean check?
We need to make sure your room is set up so that you can have the beers and other food in here.
Can you please roll on deception for me?
Oh jeez. It's a 1, not on the die.
A 1 total.
Mhm.
Ooh.
Within you hear a couple murmurs, another voice. Oh, who sent you up?
We've had some trouble with like rodents, so I just gotta make sure that you don't have any rodents before we put food in your room.
Well, we're good in here, so, carry about your business, whoever you are.
Well, enjoy not having your beer. And then I go to the next door and I just pick the lock.
All right. Please roll for your lock picking.
I got a 14.
A 14. These locks are fairly crude, enough to keep one in or out, but not really lock down anything. So you clink around a little bit, and the door clunks, and you feel that you've gotten the door open. And it's a fairly quiet clunk. So you don't feel you've alerted anyone inside if there is.
Okay, so I want to go inside.
Do you just swing the door open? Do you stomp in? Do you creep in?
Like open the door and kind of look in, make sure there's like nobody there.
Please roll a stealth as you open this door.
It's a 5.
Oh my gosh. You like push the door and you're like very slowly creeping in, but the door goes and as you open it up and it gets caught kind of on the wood below, because the door is a bit angled, it stops and gets stuck. And you're standing in the doorway, and there's 3 men inside in some really rough, beat-up armor. One guy is actually trying to pull a piece back on his shoulder and clasp it up, and they all stop and turn. The biggest guy that's closest to the door is only about 5 or 6 feet from you. He's got a big scar across his face. Looks like he might be missing a tooth or two. Big, really untaken care of beard. They're 3 humans, and then behind the humans you see a smaller dwarf lean out, and he pulls a blade from his side, and they all stare at you for a moment before saying anything. And as the door gets caught, the big guy in front looks down. What are you doing in here? Hey.
I'm sorry, I thought this was my room, but the key opened the door and
Can I have that key? That's not yours.
No, I know, I'll take it back to the desk and get it changed. But listen, really quick, I've had like a rough few days and I'm looking for like just like a change of clothes. Do you guys like spare me anything?
They all put hands on weaponry and kind of look around as you're just this little kobold standing in the door looking up at them. Most of them could probably punt you with ease.
Yeah. I'm not scared. I'm just like I just really need like a change of clothes. It's been a bad few weeks.
You said few days, but
Well, I mean, days.
whatever your case is, none of us are your stature. Please hand over the key so we may keep our room secure.
All right. Well, I guess not everyone is that generous as Mom said they would be, and I close the door and walk away.
As you like pull the door closed, a hand grabs it, and you see the big burly man looking down at you, and he kind of grimaces. And indeed, he is missing a few teeth. They look like they had been kind of bashed in. His face looks like he had just been in a bit of a fight recently, still healing up. A few bruises, and he looks down at you. The key, miss.
I pull out like a piece from like one of my like toolkits that I don't use very much, and I'm holding it in my hand, and then I go to hand it and I drop it and it goes like between like the floorboards, and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry.
Please roll sleight of hand to see if it goes between the floorboards or if it gets caught.
Yeah, that's a 23.
23. You land it right between the floorboards, and it doesn't even like hit. It just kind of shoots right through, and you hear cling, 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 cling below to whatever room that was in. The man looks at you and shakes his head and just stares at you as you walk down the hall. Do you walk back to the room or down to
and
like
the? Like I can't catch a freaking break, and I just keep walking whatever way I was walking before.
All right, so you're walking away from the room towards the stairs down. The rest of you saw Fizz walk out, and you heard some gruff voices in the hall. Do you peek out and see what's going on, or do you just kind of stay back in the room? What are you all doing while Fizz is breaking and entering?
I'd like to peek out the door to see what's going on, because she just kind of left. Didn't say why, just... It's kind of odd. So I'd like to open the door and take a look down the hallway.
And I just got another idea, and I want to walk downstairs and go like straight into the back, like into the kitchen.
All right, so we'll resolve that in a second. So, where Lily pops her head out, she sees Fizz kind of stepping into the room, hears the voices, and then Fizz backs out just a couple moments later, fumbles with something and drops it between the floorboards, and just continues walking away. Lily, you do see that the gruff voice is a man standing in the door who kind of leans out in the hall and looks and watches Fizz for a moment, and then looks back down the hallway towards you briefly, not like trying to look at you as he knows anything, but just kind of looking down the hall to see what's going on.
I just kind of give him one of these, like, and then slowly go back into my room.
He pays no mind, as it seems that maybe this little kobold had been trying to break into multiple rooms. And he shakes his head, and you see him kind of sink back into the room and hear the door slam. Eljor, Corrigan, anything that you are thinking about at this time?
I don't know that I'm thinking about
honestly,
anything.
I was gonna say I trust them to do what they're gonna do because they seem pretty sufficient for themselves. So I'm just gonna I'm trying to read this note. It's so like I want to get a better feel for this party and like exactly what I like to do things when I have information, and this is an interesting amount of information to try and do something with. But I know that we need to do something, so I'm trying to just kind of sit there and contemplate quietly, honestly, right now.
As you pour over the note, it's very clear to you that there's a few items to retrieve, specifically for the spider in your care, and I believe the glove in Lily's care, if I recall correctly.
Mm-hmm.
They're missing a gem each, and that's your goal. You don't know anything about the idea of the party, if it's a dinner party, a costume party, a party of friends, but it seems like there's invites to it. You do also understand from the note that there may be an adjoined building or a building nearby that you can either get a vantage point or sneak in somehow from. But there's no real, like, this is your mission, follow it if you choose, this note will self-destruct in 4 seconds type mentality. It's just kind of, here's where you need to go. Best of luck. And Electrum just sent that up to you. So while that doesn't give you all of the answers, that's the best of what you can make of the few bullet points essentially given to you. Corrigan, you said you weren't thinking of much at the moment. You were just kind of chilling in the room, hearing all the things happen.
Yeah, if anything, there was a common room here, right? Like downstairs?
Yeah, downstairs there's a large room that is kind of dining in common. When you head down the stairs, which Fizz is doing right now, if you were to continue straight off the stairs, you'd walk through the front doors of this inn. But entering from the front, you'd see on the right side there's the bar and 4 tables. And on the left side there's a small area with a couple couches, a fireplace, a large stuffed bear, kind of just hangout seating is what was downstairs.
I'd flutter on over to the bar.
All right,
and,
so
sit down, just right on the bar top, in front of the bar matron, bartender, whomever is controlling the bar.
Yeah. So as you flutter down, you're actually about 10 or so feet behind Fizzlepop, and you see that she walks right behind the bar and goes for the door into the kitchen. Fizz, I need you to roll a stealth for me here to make sure that you can get into that door.
19.
Sure enough, the barkeep is pouring a beer and catches sight of the fluttery wings of Corrigan coming down and the little bit of golden dust that follows behind them. Corrigan lands on the bar top and begins striking up a conversation with the barkeep, and doesn't and the barkeep doesn't have any view of you. Doesn't see that you are walking up to the kitchen. You get a little clawed hand on the door and push the door, and it swings into the kitchens. It's a very lively kitchen. There's 3 cooks within. You smell all sorts of meats being prepared on a small stovetop in the back. You see a bubbling pot of what appears to be a stew just next to that. You see a pile of dishes next to a large wash bucket. And then you also see a broom that is kind of wobbling and wiggling in place and is chained to the wall. And it seems to be held there for the moment by 2 small chains. Nothing too strong, nothing heavy. There's a back door that you can get out that looks like it might lead to the alleyway behind where they may bring food in and out. Otherwise, it seems like a fairly worn kitchen.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna like look around, and then do I see anyone?
Yeah, there's 3 cooks in there. They haven't noticed you yet as they're busy working on a few things for dinner, but they are facing kind of forward that if you make any big motions, grab at anything, they might notice you.
Yeah. Excuse me. I'm so sorry to interrupt. I wandered in here by mistake, but I'm wondering, do you have any extra, like, aprons that I could borrow?
An older elven man kind of looks over. Hey, are you the new food runner? We need food up to the tables right now.
I said I wandered in here by mistake.
I'll pay you a gold if you help this evening. You need an apron. There's a couple hanging over there. There might be one your size. And he points to a few aprons hanging next to the door.
Great, thanks. I'll be right back. And I go over and I grab. There's a back door, right? Where like the service entrance.
Yeah, you have to walk past everyone. So like you walk straight through the kitchen.
Yeah, so I walk straight through to get the aprons.
The aprons are just inside the door. They're just kind of off to your left, up in a cubby.
I'll be right back, and I grab a few of the aprons and rush out the door, and then I like run upstairs to the room.
So Fizz is hustling some aprons up to the room where Lily and Eljor are still at. Corrigan, you landed on the bar. Let's resolve what you see there, and then we'll go back up to the room.
Who's tending bar?
There's a young man, probably in his mid-20s. He appears to be human. He turns and looks at you. Oh, hey, welcome. We don't get a lot of. You're a fairy, right? I haven't seen one in many years. I was just a wee hopper. What can I get you?
Well, first of all, thank you for noticing. I've noticed you notice. I appreciate that. Second of all, got a question. I've heard rumor there's a costume party this evening. But being new in town, I don't know the parties involved, but I certainly would like to attend it. Whom might I talk to about this?
So you got your invite, right? And he grabs another glass and starts washing it. I think everyone's gotten invites. It should tell you where it's at. I don't know these things. One of the other patrons might have an invite, but if you've lost it, they might not let you in.
Well, that's the thing. I've not even met the people here. I just got to town. I must be at this party.
Oh,
how else am I supposed to climb the social ladder?
Well, you're in luck. It's the Festival of Glowing Lights, so over the next week or two, there's going to be all sorts of parties. Usually, there's one party that kicks it all off. The king, he puts it together. It's a bit strange this year because it's a different king and it's a different party, and it seems to be a bit more invite only. Normally, they let a few more people in, but
by the way, we got a mild magic scroll that wants to please maim and destroy the fairy druid. Thank you.
I wonder who that's from. It says from someone. Let's see here. All right. All right. This is a +2 to the next perception or intelligence check. I'm going to randomly assign that to one of you lovely players. It looks like it goes to Eljor. So, on your next perception or intelligence check, you get a +2.
Perfect. Thank you.
How's that ire coming?
Thank
Are you gaining the ire from the cadence?
All right. So, the barkeep does say that this year is a bit different. There's a new king, and the party seems to be even more so invite only. In previous years, some folks from the town could join.
Well, who's the fanciest looking person who's the fanciest looking patron down here?
Yeah, at the 4 tables, there is a table with a young man and a young woman. They're probably in their late 20s or 30s, if you would guess. But as you're kind of looking around, you notice the woman might actually be 70 or 80 and an elf. The man seems to be human from what you could tell based on features. So they're fairly young for who they are, and they're sitting there conversing with a glass of wine, and they clink their glasses of wine, and you notice that they're kind of finishing up their drinks at the table, laughing and joking about something.
I'll flutter over to them, focus on the elf. Hopefully, they're more akin to seeing the Fae around, as it were.
As you land at the table, do you land at the chair or on the table itself?
If I were on the chair, would I be high enough to see up on the table?
You would be able to kind of peek up onto the table. You wouldn't be like sitting at it.
Well,
So it'd be.
Yeah, I
it'd
could
be kind
fly.
of
I
at
could
your
fly
nose.
right at the edge, so I can.
Oh yeah, just hover and put your little elbows down on the table.
Yeah.
As you land, the man looks at you. Oh, is this one of your friends? And the elven lady looks over at you and shakes her head and leans down just a little bit.
Why, hello, little fairy. What brings you to our table?
Hi. Well, first of all, thank you for noticing. You just seemed like a delightful group of people that I thought I'd like to meet. I'm new in this town, and I understand that there's a festival going on.
Well, we are too, and it seems that many emissaries have been invited to the town. What part of the area are you from?
And she's leaning in and talking softly to get at your level. The man at the table just kind of sits back and crosses his arms a little bit and watches. And he's kind of watching with a bit of intrigue.
Well, my lady, I think you know a little bit better than that. The Fae are not one to disclose a lot of personal information. But let's just say I've traveled far and for a long time, and I've arrived here. And my luck, there's a festival and a party, apparently, that I've heard wind and rumblings of. I do have a hope that I could attend it. But as of yet, no invitation, sadly.
And you're one of the emissaries?
Have you seen any other fairies around?
Well, I have not.
That must mean. And then I do a little float around in a circle. And just let the phrase die off.
You don't have your invitation. I'm sure we can try to get you in. What is the name we can discuss inside with the party thrower?
Oh, Corrigan She.
Corrigan She. Beautiful name. I will discuss it with our host, and hopefully we can get you in. We were just about to travel that way, and it'll only be a few minutes before we can get inside. I don't know that we can get you in at the door per se, but maybe you can ask a few minutes behind.
Well, that seems to work well. I'll still need a few moments to dress myself up, as it were. I do appreciate it.
best of luck in your endeavors if I don't see you in this busyness. Just as a heads up, if you haven't been here before, the Festival of Lights is very, very busy at times. So, a person of your stature, you might consider using your wings a bit more during the busy times.
Float above it all, as you say.
If I would, I could. Or if I could, I would.
It has been quite a pleasure and an honor. And I'll take her hand and do the gentlemanly hand kiss. Except her hand is ginormous on my
You're
face.
just like-
It's very funny. And to you, good sir, I do look forward to getting to know you better, perhaps tonight.
Yes.
And I'll give him a little wink, a little fairy wink.
You are an interesting specimen, and I have not yet met a fairy myself. We shall engage in discussions, and do you drink?
Don't all creatures drink?
Well, I'll make sure to have a drink poured for you, sir.
And I will bless you. And I'll flap my little wings and drop a little of my dust on them a little bit.
Does it give any effect, or is it just a
No.
fun thing here?
Just a flavor thing, yeah.
As you do, a gentle clap comes from the elf, and just a little kind of nod and finger gesture of good kindness to you from the young man. They get up and wave at you as they head towards the door. During that conversation, Fizzlepop had hustled up the stairs, nearly tripping over a few of the aprons she had stolen from the kitchen, and she busts into the room with the aprons. Fizz, what's going on?
I found some costumes.
Where did you get those?
They were just laying around, hanging around. They were around.
This is
Nobody saw you
great.
take them?
Huh?
Nobody saw you take them.
No, I was told to take them.
Oh, perfect. Wait, what?
Wait,
Somebody
what?
told her to take them?
But do you want it or not?
Yeah, I'll take one. And I grab one.
Find one that's
Cool.
a little big for you. Fizz seems to have grabbed 3 or 4. One that's the size of a human or an elf. One that's a bit smaller, like a dwarf. One that's a bit smaller at like a halfling or gnomish size. So for the rest of the party here, and one that is very large that looks like it might have fit like an orc or a burly human.
Oof.
So there's a dwarven size and a size that would fit one of the 2 smaller statured ladies here.
Which one did I grab? Did I grab the human one?
You probably grabbed at one of the smaller 2. Let me roll a die and see which one you did get your hand on. You got the slightly larger one, the dwarven size. So something that's a little bit too big for you, but
Okay.
might be like cinchable or foldable.
That's okay. I'm fine with that. Because I know Fizzlepop's smaller than I am. So she'll probably take the smallest one.
And it'll still be too big.
And it'll still be too big. We'll be matching in that way.
Right, so you each have an apron, and it leaves a large apron left over. Anything else you'd wish to discuss about these aprons and Fizzlepop's little endeavor?
Nope. I think we're ready to go. We just need to find our
so
friend
we're
here.
pretending to be staff then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the easiest way to blend.
It at least gives us an option when we get there. I don't see anybody else
Yeah.
with any other ideas.
Oregon, at
Wait, you
about
didn't-
this time. Oh, yes, Eldor.
Oh, fine.
All right. At about this time, Corrigan, you're finishing up your discussion downstairs, and your new friends have just exited the bar. You return upstairs. Do you wait for your party? What is it that?
Oh yeah, if they went out, my plan was to basically go and wait in the room until they came back. But if they exit,
Oh no,
I'll flutter after. Oh, the new
your new friends that you had just met at the table.
No, I'll go back to the room and wait for these guys.
Yeah. So as you enter the room, they're all looking at the aprons and probably trying them on and making sure they fit. And there's one large apron laying on the bed at this point.
I may have gotten at least myself in through the front door. We'll see. But if I get in, then
Find an invite.
I've made friends with an elvish emissary, and they were taken aback at all of this. And I do my little spin. And they're going to put a word in with our host. So maybe that can get us in. Or at least me, and then I can open a side door, if needed.
The worst case scenario, we tuck you on the side of an apron, and you can get it in that way.
I mean, I guess I could have just flown through a chimney as well. But we'll see.
That happened really fast.
I did find out... Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I said that happened really fast. You made friends really fast.
People like the weird, the oddity, the uniqueness. There's not many elves around, fairies around, so,
That's fair. Yeah, I get it.
I did find out that the whole thing's being thrown by the new king.
Oh, really?
So, yes.
Is he hosting too?
Yes, he's hosting. It's a new king. Apparently, in the past, townsfolk were able to attend, but this year it's apparently much more prestigious, or maybe not prestigious is the word I'm looking for.
Exclusive.
Exclusive. Yes, that's a good one.
Did he say why?
No, not as of, not to me anyway. The bartender himself basically said, look for the other parties rather than this one. So apparently it's a week-long festival. All kinds of things, comings and goings.
I guess
Well,
it's
this ought to be really
just a
fun
result
then.
of all the suspicion that's kind of circulating in the area because of the underfoot.
I wonder if it has to do with the rounding up of the little ones. I wonder if the new king has been harmed in some way by some small folk.
Mm.
But we shall see.
Yeah, I say we, wait, do we know what time it starts?
Well, I believe that my new friends were headed that way now.
Oh, so maybe we should just go ahead and go.
Worst case scenario, we hang out for a bit. I say scenario weird.
You say a lot of things weird.
Huh. I'm taken aback. Fizzle pop. Oh, like overly dramatic.
He's not known for
Hand on
her.
my head and feet onto the bed.
Oh no, somebody give him attention before he dies.
I do believe in fairies. I do.
Swirl up and like glitter blast everywhere, or pollen blast. I see you've dealt with my kind before.
It does appear that with that pollen blast, you get a little bit in Eljor's eye as you kind of coat the room.
Looks like you're
Now
seeing...
how am I supposed to blend in?
There's a light,
It's gonna look
a
like
light
I'm flirting
golden
with everybody
dust
all night.
across all of you. Just weeping at everyone all night. Hey, how do you like them crab cakes?
They're great.
Or for those
I'm bad at winking.
of you who can't wink, they're good, right? Yep.
All right, now with a slight golden dust across each of you, a couple aprons on,
Oh, we're glittered up.
and apparently a potential invite. How do you wish to see your party evening?
I'm ready to go.
Yeah, I'll go to the entry line, I guess. The queue up front. First, make sure, observe what other patrons are wearing, and then, if need to, adjust some shiny trinkets on my clothing or whatnot. I feel like my
Yeah.
wings will be most of my flash, so.
As you step out of the inn, the front is a bit quiet on the stoop, but just off of the stoop, there's people moving about in all sorts of directions. The city center has all sorts of folks out. You see very well dressed folks of all different shapes and sizes, of all different races and colors, and you see dragonborns and fairies, and you see an Aarakocra and a few others that you haven't seen, and some you haven't seen for many, many years. So a Kenku walks by, and you hear some repetition in various voices coming out of the mouth as it's speaking to an orc walking next to it. It seems that there's a smattering of representation, but every creature that isn't dressed in like a standard townsfolk, a little bit more worn attire, seems to be dressed up to their best of their culture. So you see feathers and headdresses and gold and shiny things all across a bunch of these people. The well-dressed folk are walking across the city center to a few taller buildings. These are the most beautiful, stunning buildings around the city center. It seems to be that one of the buildings is a closed like shopping piece, shopping center of sorts. A few different layers. The lowest layer is a tailor. There seems to be a jeweler up above, and then something on the third floor that you can't quite make out in the windows. But there's a big display in each of these shops that shows off some very, very fine gear. There's no lights within each of those shops. They seem to be closed for the day. But immediately across this small walkway between the buildings is this large. It seems to be a hall of sorts, a gathering place. The gathering place has the two wooden front doors swung open about halfway, and you can see lights and lots of color and flashes, and you hear cheers and some music from within. And this is where most of the folks are heading. There's a couple guards standing outside of this large hall that seem to be stopping patrons and asking them for something, and you see a card come out here and there that seems to be an invitation. Now, the townsfolk are gathered around, and you hear whispers and points, and you hear oohs and ahs as there's a group of children just kind of watching and cheering. Some of them are trying to sell sweetbreads and various other things to the passerbys. There's a young woman who's got a tray of fruits and vegetables, and she's got a little sign next to her that says grown locally, and it seems that there's little wooden sticks in each of these cut up fruits and vegetables, and some of these emissaries are walking past and trying out some of the local foods, as this might be their first time in the area to understand. It's a bustling, busy, lively area. So for the shorter two, Lily and Fizz, you get bits and pieces of this kind of shown to you as the crowd is moving in and out. Eljor is able to see a bit more as he stands taller than a good majority of the crowd, and our fairy Corrigan can float up above and get a good view. But as you approach the hall where this gathering seems to be taking place, there's a line that is going in. The line's moving fairly quickly, showing their invitations. A couple children are sitting up front, just sitting on a blanket and watching all of the dress and attire, and they point and they ooh and ah at the fairy fluttering up above, and pay no mind to the three of you in aprons. So we're going for the line, and as Corrigan makes it into the line, there's only about 5 or 6 folk ahead of him, and ahead of our Corrigan. What they see is a small card of like a golden shine to the paper on one side, and a very stark black to the other side of the paper. They rotate the guests rotate the paper a little bit to shine something off of the very bright side or the reflective side, and you see a little bit of a symbol kind of reflect onto the guards' faces as the light bounces off, and you hear, "Yep, go ahead, welcome, welcome," and they keep pushing people in, and it gets up to your turn, and Corrigan, they look at you and kind of snicker to one another. So, where's this invitation?
I'll do like the spin in the air and let a little bit of the fairy dust drivel down, the pollen down. I believe you'll find I may be on the list under Corrigan She. Invitation's a bit big for me to be carrying around, is it now?
Yeah, that's what I told him. Well, I don't think we have a list out here. And the guard who's addressing you bumps the other guard. Go inside and see if we've got a Corrigan She that can enter. And
as he's running away, I'll be like, thank you for your attentiveness.
The one guard hustles off. You notice that they aren't wearing full armor. They're wearing very much like dress armor. So a few very, very shiny bits of plate here and there, but they're mostly in like a chainmail with a shirt over, or a very fine covering. And the first guard just kind of stands there and looks around awkwardly and waves a couple other guests up, and they flash the invitation, and he waves them in. And he looks over at you a second. So, how did you get around not having to have an invitation? Do you know the king?
They sent one. I literally can't carry it. Look at me. Where my pockets are only so big, sir.
They didn't make one your size. That's and
I understand. To cater to all head. Looking at all the people around, to cater to one and all would be nigh impossible. Think of the expense.
Well, they make them smaller. And the guard waves up a few small folk from further in the line, and you see a couple small goblins walk up, and they're dressed in like strange sticks and mud and like tied together outfits that look very regal if you lived in a swamp. And they walk up, and one holds up this tiny little card, and it doesn't reflect to the guard, and the guard looks down. Clean it. And the goblin looks at it. Sorry. And he wipes away some mud that's on the front of this shiny bit of card and gets a little reflection, but you see the card is much, much smaller, something that you would have been able to strap to your back or put in your backpack almost. So the guard looks up at you and goes, well, with the change of leadership, I guess some folks were mismarked on the list. I'm sorry about that. We'll get you in. Because of it, let's just let you go in.
I appreciate that, sir. Thank you. And as I'm going past, I want to look around and just kind of like get real close to his ear and be like, "What about them that was rounding up all the small folk? Are we safe in here?"
Well, if you're one of the emissaries, yes, but I'm sorry you had to see that. There's been a gang that has plagued the city and a few neighboring cities. I'm sorry you had to see any of that happen, but I believe we've at least staved them off for now. They shouldn't be here any longer. The city is safe.
Thank you for your service, and I'll flutter in.
As you flutter in, you can tell that the guard who is addressing you is sweating through his shirt. Like he's very nervous with that entire engagement, especially that you'd seen some of what he thought was hidden from most of the emissaries of the land. As you flutter in, the other guard kind of walks past and puts his hand up. You're on the. You're okay. And waves you in as if he's about to tell you you could enter. The rest of the party sees you kind of hover up and over the group. Now, as I described earlier, this large hall is probably about 60 or so feet wide at the front. It gets off to the left side. It seems to go out in kind of an L shape around a bit of a garden. You see lights in the windows there as if the party's back in the larger room. On the right side of the front entry is that little hall between the fancy shops and the hall itself. So a little walk path essentially between the gathering hall and the shops, the 3 stories of shops. Now, the 3 of the party who are dressed in aprons are standing in the town square, probably 50, 60 feet from where this is all going on. The small group of children nearby still pointing out costumes, and you hear some murmurs as a tabaxi walks by and the tail flicks around, and you hear the kids,
Whoa! What? Did you see that one? It's a giant cat.
The rest of the group giggles. What is it that you all do?
Do I notice like a
I'm
service
going to look.
entrance?
Service entrance, you don't
I'm
seem
gonna
to see one
look
from the
at
front.
since she found this stuff.
Yeah, so as Eldra kind of looks down at Fizzlepop, you see her eyeing around a little bit. You don't see a service entrance as you're kind of on the town square. To the best of your knowledge, being around towns and cities, the entrance is probably off to a side or around the back.
Towards like the side.
Towards the L-shaped side or down that little path between the shops?
Probably the path between the shops.
Right. Lily, Eldra, do you follow or do you look to do something else at this moment?
I'd like to follow.
All right. As you're following, you do notice that you walk down this little path and you hear music within the hall to your left. And one of the windows is cracked open just a little bit, and you hear some laughing and some cheering, and you hear voices and sounds that are somewhat obscure, but also some familiar, as you've seen so many different folks represented here. The shops are all closed up. There's some really large window fronts that you can see. Up above, there seems to be the buildings almost lean in a little bit. This bit of land has sunken in certain ways that the buildings are leaning a little bit towards one another. Where you're walking is about 6 feet wide, but up above it gets as close as maybe 3.5, 4 feet near the tops of the buildings. As you look down this path, about 85 to 100 feet down, you notice there's a few others in aprons and dress attire, but more like service staff dress attire. So dressed up nicely, but not wearing anything flashy. They all seem to be of various stature, so potentially servants or handmaids or others that have come with some of the emissaries helping out, being a part of the festivities, but in their services role. They're all kind of chatting in the back. There's about 7 or 8 different folks involved, and then you hear a door kind of swing shut and people moving in and out of this little pod fairly quickly. So it seems that just around the corner there could be a service entrance for the staff.
Well, I'm gonna keep going to where I think it might be then.
All right. As you walk up to the service entrance, there's a guard back here. He's not in the fancy dress, but just more like a standard city guard. And he looks at you, Fizzlepop, as you're the first to come around the corner. He goes, where did you come from?
My mother, where did you come from?
Well, sassy little... Oh, what are you? You're not a dragonborn? You're one of the kobolds from the area. Well, haven't met a kobold.
Well,
And
what do you have?
He puts his hand out.
Forgive my state. I'm out of my element here. There's so many folks, and I'm usually out in the countryside. I watch some of the storehouses out there, so I see just a few farmers most days.
Okay, well, I'm supposed to be working, helping in the kitchen. I'm running a little bit late, so if we can like hustle up this
Well,
conversation.
if you didn't come through the door here, and he points to the door right next to him, I'm not supposed to let you in through it because all of the service staff showed up 3 hours prior.
I know. I just said I was late.
3 hours.
It's a long. I've had a rough couple of days.
I'm sorry, sir. She just came to get us our aprons. We were all running late. We'd be amiss if we didn't get to our duties quickly to make sure that all of these high-profile guests are taken care of.
Well, do you know what your duties are and where you must go?
We'll find
Food
out
runners,
once we
right?
get inside.
Isn't that what you
Yes.
said?
We're supposed to help in the
Fizzle
kitchen.
Yes. I hear they may be short-staffed.
Yeah.
Don't tell anyone I let you in. Go. And as you start to make your way towards the door, there's a few murmurs from the group that seems to be on their break, and you hear a voice. Hey, what? You didn't let the other guy in earlier? And the guard just kind of waves his hand and kind of staves off any suspicion for the moment, but you've got eyes on the wait staff that might not like your presence currently. As you step inside, this seems to be a hallway that leads to kitchens, and then there's a large coat closet up ahead. Down the hall for the coat closet, it seems to lead up to the front foyer, and down the hall that leads to the kitchen, there seems to be a few doors into where it seems that there's a band or a lot of music and stuff happening that could be the main hall or just off of that.
I'm gonna go to the coat closet.
All right, Fizzle's heading to the coat closet. Lily, Eljor, anything that you wish to do as you've now entered?
I'm gonna try and start running food.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna second that as well.
Right, so as
What's on the
you two
menu
make
tonight?
Union Tinners a bit.
as you two make it into the kitchen, there's various smells. Many things assault the nostrils. It seems that everything is on the menu. There's various platters of more normal foods you can find in the pub: breads, meats, cheeses, fish, pork, ham is some of the cheeses you see, or some of the meats you see. Wow, I can't speak tonight. You got fish cheese and pork cheese and ham cheese. No, you see a various amount of cheeses and breads that accompany those. On a few other plates, you see things like grubs and worms and other things that might be more appetizing to other creatures. There's a few small containers that look like they have something wriggling inside. It could be some form of creature. There's even some small plants, like saplings, on another tray.
I need clarification what the difference between pork cheese and ham cheese is.
It's like pulled pork versus a ham sandwich.
But aren't they from the same?
Look it up. You can look up ham and pork. They're the same creature, different cuts. There we go.
And so the milk comes from different teats, and then it makes different cheese. Is that
Yeah,
what you're saying?
it's the add. It's what you add to your cheese as it goes. Like there's jalapeno cheese and regular old cheddar. So there you go. I've given you a description of cheese. But as you two enter, a few different kitchen staff kind of look at you and start handing trays. Eldor, you get a tray of like saplings and more odd assortment of things that look like they grew in the forest. There's a few mushrooms that have a little bit of dirt underneath them, like they were just freshly plucked and set on the tray. Lily, you get a plate that has some really strange aromas on it. Some dried meats of some sort. Some of them look like fish. Some of them look like some form of jerky. But it's definitely a very aromatic tray. And as the trays are put in your hands, the people giving you trays are like kind of motioning you to the door that leads into what seems to be the hall. Two swinging doors are constantly moving in and out. Various staff walking in with empty trays and walking out with full trays. And you're hustled that way. anything you wish to do as you're being pushed towards the door.
I would ask which table this is supposed to go to.
As you ask, the young, or young as you could tell, Kenku looks at you. It goes to any table. Everyone is out there, just mingling around and having fun.
Well, so
I
these
would like
appetizers.
to
I understand.
start. I'd like to walk out the door, and then as soon as I get past the door, I want to like sneak a couple bites of the stuff that's on the tray.
All right. So, Lily's heading towards the door, and Eljor is a little bit behind with his instruction to just kind of mingle and hand out the plant life that's on his tray. And as you walk through the door, let's have a stealth check if you wish to sneak a few bites to see what's going on.
16.
16. It's busy enough in there that no one seems to notice you, and you take a few bites of things. One of the things that looks like a dried fish indeed seems to be a very, very dried out fish, and it kind of cracks and crumbles into your mouth. It's very salty, with a fish undertone to it all. Another piece of meat that you bite into is very chewy and seems to need a lot of chewing or a lot of saliva to even do much with. So this is a not normal plate of things that you would probably eat, but someone here at the party is looking forward to whatever you have.
All right.
Now we go back to Fizzlepop as you two enter the main area. But before we go to Fizzlepop, as you enter the main area, there's all sorts of people within the room. There's a band off to the side. It seems to be a small stage set up in front of stairs that lead upwards. The room is about 80 by 80, so it's not a huge space, but it's got enough space for a few hundred people to mingle, and it's fairly tight. And there's pods of people around. There's a few tables that groups have like stood around. Tables of varying heights to accommodate all those present. There's even some chairs with little ladders on them that you notice, so some of the shorter folk can get up to the higher tables if they're hanging out with others. And so it's a lot of bustling about. And above the crowd, you see Corrigan kind of floating around through the front door, and a few other small types fluttering around. Not fairies per se, but you do notice a few other creatures floating about the room. And as you're noticing that, we're going to go to Fizzlepop, and she's hustling down the hall towards this large coat closet. There's a few staff members within the coat closet hanging up things and checking a list. Looks like this coat goes on hanger 18? 18? And a clip goes up on the wall with 18 on it, and a little note that has a name. This one goes on 27, and coats are getting tossed back and forth, and a wall of these notes are getting clipped up on different little pins that have a number on them. Seems to correspond to each hanger has a clip on the wall, so you know who's where. And at the end of the night, it's kind of like your valet for coats. It's hustling and bustling about, and as you're hustling in there, Fizz, a coat kind of smacks up against you as they don't see you there. The few folks working the room are quite burly and strong. So there's a young human, there's a dwarf, and it looks like a young orc in the back. And they're just tossing these things, and you hear like chains of one of these coats rattle, and it seems like it's a really heavy piece, and they're just tossing it like nothing. And then you see like one of them toss a cloak, and it just kind of flutters and slowly hovers in the air as if it's made of almost nothing. And so you see this mess going on. They don't really pay any mind to you.
Yeah, so I kind of want to slip into the coat racks and see if I notice anything kind of close to my size that like maybe looks like something that I could wear to blend in with the people I saw like in costumes and stuff.
Yeah, there's a various amount of things your size on the lower racks. There's some more shiny looking coats, ones that look kind of scaly. There's ones that look a bit more leathery. There's ones that look like they're made out of almost strands of light. They glow and shimmer where they're at, and they're almost transparent. There's ones that also just seem fairly standard, as if someone had sewn together some cloth that had some bright patterning around the edges, but nothing too fancy per se.
I would probably look to see if there's something like I liked the shimmery ones, but I don't want it to be like clear. So maybe something more iridescent, or I would see if there's something that's like normal, but like a little bit of something, so it doesn't stand out too much.
So you see a couple normal ones that appear to be your size. Like I said, they've got some bright hemming or some patterning around the hem, but right next to them, there's a couple very shimmery, scaly-looking ones. They're not like bright shimmery, but they reflect some of the light in the room, and it does catch your eye a bit more as you're kind of looking around. In your cobaldness, the shininess kind of pulls you a little bit,
Yeah.
but it's up to you to choose what you believe you'd go for.
I really, really want the shiny one, but my brain is like, they're probably custom. Somebody's gonna like approach you, so I take one of the more normal ones.
Yeah,
Sadly, like I stand there with my hand on the shiny one, and I'm like,
pulling the other one off the rack.
yeah.
As you pull the one off the rack that looks to fit you, it's a light canvas, so it's fairly light to throw on. It's a tan color, and around the arm cuffs, there's golden flames kind of up the arm cuffs, and around the neck and down the chest, you've got like it seems to be ice or water in a very iridescent blue thread that catches the light ever so slightly, but not anything that like pops like any of the others. But across the whole thing, as you kind of move about the room, it seems to, in a way that like static electricity might build, it seems to crackle and pop just a little. But when you stop moving, it goes back to very normal canvas look.
Great. So I'm gonna take its like number tag and make sure it's in the pocket, so I can always like return it later.
Yeah,
I want to take my apron and like fold it up and put it in my pack.
All right. How big of a pack are you carrying right now?
I don't know.
Are you carrying your full backpack or just a little satchel?
I don't know. Probably a sack.
Okay. So you've got a little satchel. You're able to fold the apron up. The strings kind of dangle out a little bit, as it is a little bulky for your satchel then, but nothing too unsightly. You take the number 84. So you put the hanger 84 back up, and 84 is actually up on the wall. You have to kind of jump for it to get that off the wall. You wish to grab the tag or leave it be?
I'm just gonna leave it.
All right, so 84 is a little bit out of your reach. You leave it clipped up. You can't quite read the name on there. It was scribbled on pretty hastily, so you're not sure whose coat this actually is.
Okay.
Do you exit into the main hall? Do you go through the kitchens? How do you wish to go?
Yeah, no, I'm gonna go into the main hall because now I want to go into the main room and just kind of like mingle.
Yeah, so
because I'm supposed to be here, so
as you exit the coat closet, you came from the right, which is the back. To the left, there's like a little check station about 10 feet away, and that's where coats are bustling in from. But there seems to be a little door slightly agape straight ahead of you, just across this small hallway that is like a trick door to get into the main hall in case, they need to get into the back rooms from the main gathering for any reason. You're able to push that open and kind of bump into a few people, but you get in and you see the same thing. You see Corrigan kind of up ahead of you, fluttering across towards the back.
Him? And I'm like,
yeah, you see him. Yep. Corrigan might not notice you, as there's plenty of people here, and you just kind of came from a trap door. But Corrigan's fluttering around, and in the back we have Lily and Eljor making their way into the room. It's bustling about. We're going to go to Corrigan for a couple minutes and see what Corrigan does, as we're now round tabling this split party.
Well, the first thing I would do is I would have to try to find the elf and the human that got me in.
Yeah. As you're fluttering around,
utilize that later.
Yeah, as you're fluttering around, you do notice at a table the elf is speaking, and there's 7 or 8 different folk around the table, very very close. It's a table that can barely accommodate maybe 4 or 5 drinks, and it's packed tight with drinks. And she seems to be telling a story, and the whole group is laughing and joking, and you hear a cheer, and she continues on very very regally, and is very involved in this group. The man that you had met is off sitting at another table with 2 others. These 2 men, one is an orc and one is an elven man. They're all kind of leaned in a bit and discussing as if they're in a very deep talk, something they're planning or working on, because you see them pointing at just a small paper on the table with a bunch of writing, and they rotate it, and someone underlines a couple words, and you see a shake of a head, kind of like dismissal, but not like angrily. But they're very deep in some form of conversation there. You wish to engage in either?
I would like to try and lock eyes with Eljor, if possible.
Yeah,
and just like put his head the direction of those guys.
Okay. As you're fluttering around the room and you notice the 2 tables, they're near the front of the room, and you see Eljor walking in with his plate of flora. So his plate of flora, and he's walking in, holding it up, and does get sight of you, and sees that you're nodding your head off to the side.
And then once I get that he kind of gets at least a vague idea of what I'm after, or like, hey, check on those guys, they might be up to something, I'll flutter down to the elf lady from earlier.
All right. Eljor, anything that you wish to do as you've gotten the bat signal? Or the, sorry,
I'll just...
fairy signal.
Yeah. Wink, wink. Nudge, nudge, say no more. I'm going to head towards that table and just kind of offer up samples. Effectively, I've got these appetizers for all these fools. So I'm just going to... Not fools. Anyway, I don't think they're fools. These guys, and I'm just gonna try and be present, but not evidently present, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So as you're walking towards the tables, you move past a few conversations that are very loud and lively, and some laughter assaults the ears as well. This room is exciting and a buzz. Lily, do you follow with, or do you mingle in a different direction?
I'd like to mingle in a different direction.
Okay. Anything you're looking for in the room?
Yeah, I'm looking to see, like, I'm kind of doing a perimeter check. Okay. So I'm trying to look for anything, either decorations or hidden places where things could be hidden of value. Okay. So I'm just like checking out everything that's in there, basically.
Okay. As you mingle through the room, this seems to be a very open gathering place. The most value you see in the room, there's a few pedestals kind of central to the room, scattered about 10 or 12 feet apart. Around them, there's a bit of a force field of sorts. That's a bit of a humming sound that you hear. And as you get close, you see it seems to be ancient artifacts that are sitting on these few pedestals. Nothing of a gem or diamond catches your eye, but they appear to be pottery and artwork that is very, very exciting or important to those gathered here. And as you're watching, the pedestal drops through the floor and rises back up with a different piece. It's almost showing bits and pieces from things that have been brought into the area. And there's little plaques that surround each side of the pedestal and seem to have region names. Some that you recognize as being nearby, some that you don't recognize whatsoever. And each of these regions is showing a piece of their art or history through this. So you notice that they drop and come back up every couple minutes. It takes almost 2 minutes for the next set to drop out and be replaced. But the replacement is very quick. It drops down within a couple seconds. Another one pops up within this shielded center.
Okay.
I said there's about
I
5 pedestals
definitely-
there.
I definitely want to keep an eye on that, and whenever they're rotating, making sure I'm paying attention to what is being displayed.
Yeah. So as you're moving about, there's guests that are walking through and paying a lot of attention to the items being displayed. And while you're kind of mingling in there, a few other wait staff come in and out, and there you watch them kind of eyeball the things appearing and disappearing, and you hear one of the wait staff go, "Whoa!" And you notice that there's a scroll floating in the middle of one of these pedestals. It's not sitting on the pedestal like most of the objects, but it's floating just above it, and it seems to be worn and tattered. And the voice that you hear exclaim is a dwarf. That's one of the old tomes of what? I can't believe they let it travel. Ugh. And he hustles off, and his tray is emptied. And as you're standing in there, a tabaxi walks up and is talking to another tabaxi, and they're muttering and murmuring some things, and they're wearing very, very different garb, so they're probably from 2 different clans. They walk up towards your tray, and they just start like pawing all of these meats into their mouth, and they're talking and like purring and grumbling about stuff, and bits of meat kind of fall out of their mouth, both of them, as they're not really as regal as some folks, but they seem to be regal for their species, and they're enjoying their time. And you get hit with a tail once in a while as they're just moving about, doing their thing, not paying attention to the wait staff.
Do I notice anything interesting or unique about the clothing or accessories that they have on them?
Yeah, you do notice that they are made of a couple different colors of leather. They're very fit to their slim forms. So these tabaxi probably weigh only about 70-80 pounds, but they're standing 5 or so feet tall. You can see that their armor probably weighs a good 10 or 15 pounds. It's some thick leather on certain parts. One of them has very feather-like embellishments, and another one has something that looks more like flames across it. So it's potentially whatever their region symbols or deities are.
Okay.
You do notice, though, the last thing you notice as they're moving about, they each have some very like shiny metallic, almost rings on their paws, but it's kind of like a knuckle duster of sorts, because the way the paw webbing is. And then they have a couple very, very tight choker-like chains. One is of gold and one is of silver, but you don't see any diamonds or gemstones on them. So they're showing off some of their shiny, fancy things that they have.
Okay. Great.
Now, as you're mingling in there, and Eljor is making his way over to the table that Corrigan has settled in. Fizz, is there anything you wish to do as you've entered the room dressed as someone else?
I think I would just be like kind of wandering around, and then if nothing really like jumps out at me as being of significance, then I would be looking for maybe other like hallways or rooms, or something that could maybe be like a hidden door.
Yeah.
Entrance to the courtroom.
So as you're looking about, some of the things that might catch your interest, especially being a tinkerer, is the pedestals that are dropping and coming back up. There's a lot of interesting things that are happening. You don't hear much sound or feel rumbling underneath the floor.
And are they different pedestals, or is it the same pedestal coming up with different items?
It seems to be the same type of pedestal, like very much the same thing. They could be replaced immediately, or they could have extras down below or wherever they're going.
But it's in the same spot.
It's in the same spot. And as you get close, you hear a hum of some magic holding people and creatures back. And you do see Lily off to the side as the tabaxi are chowing down on all of their food.
Okay.
So that catches your eye. You don't notice any other doors per se along the walls, but you notice there's a platform that sits in front of some stairs that lead up and kind of spiral in the back corner.
Well, I think I would be looking for a way. Okay, so I see a way upstairs. Is there a way downstairs?
Not that you can see. There doesn't seem to be, at least in this hall.
So, I would probably try to like make my way upstairs, but like casually unnoticed.
Okay, as you notice, the stairway has the platform around it. You would be very much noticed if you climbed up onto the platform, which is about 10 or 12 feet wide by about 12 feet deep in front of the bottom of the stairs. So no one is on it. No one is within a couple feet of it. So it would be very, very much noticed if you climbed up there.
Okay, let me think.
As you're thinking and looking around and taking this in, I'm going to go to Eljor and Corrigan. Corrigan flutters down to the table, and the elf finishes her story, and the party is just all happy and lively around this table. There's an older gnome that looks up.
See, we've got a fairy in our midst. Who are you this evening?
Hi. First of all, thank you for noticing. And I'll flutter down to the table edge. Like, how's everyone doing this fine, lovely eve? And I'll use Druidcraft to make the Japanese maple on the end of my staff kind of bloom with the bright red leaves.
You stun some of the group around, and you hear oohs and ahs, and people start answering your question, and everyone's talking over one another. Libations have been flowing, so everyone is not drunk, but they're definitely feeling the excitement of the evening, the chatter, the drinks, the people around. So it becomes a ruckus of things. The old gnome looks up at you.
That's quite a... Wow, I wish I had stuff like that.
young man, I'd be careful using the W word around the Fey folk. You never know when some of us have that ability.
Are you saying the what word, or the wonderful, or
the W-I-S-H?
Oh, I didn't know that was okay. Sorry.
Just
I didn't
a
mean to
word
swear
of
at you.
caution.
I didn't mean to swear at you.
All right. I don't want to. I want to engage these guys in conversation, but I don't want to actually like talk about anything.
Yeah.
I basically just want to keep attention on me.
Yeah.
As much as possible. Random stories that I'm making up on the fly, and yeah.
Can you roll one deception and one persuasion for me?
Let me look at my stat list here. Oof. Double oof. I'm going to use my natural 20 that I gave myself last episode on the deception.
Okay.
So hopefully they can't tell I'm lying if I'm not persuasive.
Okay.
And I will roll a persuasion. That's a D12, Jared. I need a D20. Okay, 17 on the die, so 16.
All right. So your stories are astounding, and there's very few questions, just jaws agape, some murmurs and some excitement as to what you're sharing. And it seems otherworldly and almost untrue to most of the group, but the persuasion is good enough when a question or two comes up that you're able to kind of glaze past it or show off more of your tricks of fluttering your wings and having this golden dust settle everywhere, that you keep the attention. And as you're keeping the attention, the oohs and ahs are going. Eljor, you're able to approach with your platter of flora. Is there anything you're looking for or looking to do as you walk up to the group? Do you wish to even get Corrigan's attention?
I just assume that Corrigan brought me here for a reason. I don't think he would kind of just willy-nilly direct me towards a specific place. So I'm going to just try and first probably look, because it sounds like a lot of the stuff that he's saying is just to give me the opportunity to be observant without being noticed. So I'm just going to look around and see if there's anything in or around this table of note about the people there, to just see why he called me over here.
Yeah, so this group is a bunch of folks that seem to be more of the Fae ancestry. So you notice that there's actually a Ball Eladrin at the table. He seems to say very little. He glows a bit orange to his skin. His hair is an orangey nature, and it seems that most of his clothing is, while it looks like cloth, almost seems to be leaves that interlace to make his very ornate tuxedo-like suit. And he sees your platter, and he grabs a mushroom off the top and slowly peels it apart and enjoys every little morsel of it and just gives you a little nod, not saying anything, almost to recognize you as your nature, and also a nod for the delightful treat that you've given him, and pays back attention to the fairy on the table. You do notice the elven woman as well. She seems to be a high elf in her background, as far as you recognize. You recognize some of the markings and the way her ears are shaped, that she's of one of the most noble classes in the land that you have encountered. So she's probably part of a leadership group, if not the leader of potentially a country, and not just like in a small hamlet or anything.
Okay. Maybe royalty?
Maybe royalty, most likely, based on
okay,
who's here and
cool.
What they're wearing and whatnot.
Would I have any awareness of who the actual elven royalty are, so that I can maybe make a history check to see if I recognize her?
You may have some awareness, depending on how close they are in terms of proximity. It seems this party represents quite a bit of the country that spans upwards of about 1,600 miles in width and about 2,000 miles in height. It's a large expanse of land, not overly sized, but it is large enough that by horse and carriage and other forms of transportation, it's not easy to make it end to end very quickly.
Is there anything, I guess, else of note at the table other than, like, because it seems very evident that whomever has been invited to this thing is of note?
Yeah,
and I think that's pretty evident, but is there anything, because I mean, I think you had mentioned earlier, and I'm trying not to act on this meta knowledge, but there was like a thing they were passing around and reading. Do I see that?
Yeah, you are actually between the two tables. You see the three men still talking, and they lean in and speak almost in hushed tones to one another. Very serious conversation, as opposed to the laughing and chatter that's at the table where Corrigan is at. Okay. These men have their drinks are dwindling. They seem to be drinking some of the hard alcohols, like a scotch or a whiskey type, and their drinks are fairly low. That's the notable thing you see there. They don't seem to have any plates of any food or anything that they've consumed, whereas it's kind of a mess around the table where there's laughter. There's even some food bits on the floor that one of the gnome servant helper folk is running through and like scooping up quickly and dodging footsteps, and you see that he's throwing it all into a bag and hustling it out of the room as if he's been tasked with a very dangerous task to clean the floors as this party's going on. Yeah.
Can I make my way back to the kitchen then and try and find some refills for the gentleman so I have an excuse to be there?
Yeah, there is actually a small bar top just outside of the kitchen. As you turn around to make your way, there's three bartenders, and they're sending drinks off of one end. to some of the servant types, and then they're handing drinks to guests of the party on the front line of this bar top. They're hustling quickly. You actually see a couple mage hands fluttering around and tossing bottles. So they're using all of their trickery to make sure that this bar both looks great and functions well. And you see a mage hand twirling a bottle up in the air and doing some tricks with it, and then pouring into a large glass that stands really tall, but very, very thin. And one of the wait staff grabs it very, very cautiously and starts walking it away. And it seems to probably be only a couple drinks of liquid in this very tall tube. But you notice some very interesting stuff happening at the bar, keeping the eye of folks around it. So,
Okay, yeah. I mean, I'll approach and just let them know I need refills for those gentlemen.
Yeah, as you approach, the bar staff kind of points you just a little bit further down to where more of the hands of the party are at. And they're all getting drinks and shouting orders in. And there's one of the bar staff that is just constantly down there, passing drinks in and out and taking orders. And he looks at you. Oh, what does he need?
Those gentlemen are drinking. I'm trying to be preemptive. I didn't want to interrupt their conversation.
Do you know which table they're at?
Right there.
You point kind of across the way. Oh, yes. 1 second. And he tosses 3 glasses up onto the bar top. And a mage hand comes down and splashes drink into each of them, not hitting the bar top whatsoever.
Awesome.
Just like very magically hits and swoops back up and out. And another hand comes in quickly and drops a couple ice cubes. And you get a nod from the bartender as that's the order. It's a very, very strong alcohol, very sweet in nature as you pick the 3 up and put them on your tray.
Sweet. I'll just make my way back over with those 3 drinks to serve these gentlemen and have a reason to be there.
Yeah, so as you're making your way back over, and you're getting close to the table, there is a trumpeting sound coming from the stairwell, and the room goes a bit quiet, and the partygoers all start to turn to the stairwell, or the stairway coming down, and the platform in front of it. And you see some feet slowly walking down the stairs to enter the room. Very, very ornate shoes, encrusted with all sorts of gemstones. And you see a bit of a cape come down too, which has sparkly gems attached to the edging of the cape. And nope, it's just shoes and a cape. There's no person attached. Just kidding, chat. Just kidding. And Buttspot jumps in. Just butts. So you see a person walking down the stairs. This is a great time to go on our little break, as you all are now entrenched in the room, and we don't know who's coming down the stairs. We'll find out in about 10 minutes. So you'll hear our theme song. It's about 30 seconds long this season. So when you hear that, we're coming back. We'll tell some jokes. We'll have some fun, and we'll let you have a little bit of extra time before we dive back into the story. So see you in about 10 minutes, everybody. So, I had a joke about a pencil, but it was pointless. So, welcome back to Here Be Dragons. I figured we didn't have enough dad jokes in the first half, so I'd start us off with one. If that was a trigger for
Excellent.
some of you like Glenn, Glenn already left.
No, I'm just jealous that I didn't make it because that's a dope joke.
Well, it's in your repertoire now, so
I
have
now
fun.
know.
Share
We'll steal from
share it
you.
on your streams. Share it to friends and family. Tell it to your own dad. And
Promise it wasn't recommended.
it's not
Going
that
on the
good.
monthly newsletter.
The monthly Glenn and Sarah newsletter.
I
It-
found that mailing list.
Is it still in print or is it digital now? Did you guys upgrade to the new era?
Digital. Gotta
Oh,
be in the
1000%.
times.
But only the last 2 issues, right? It was print up until then. Well,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. Because of COVID. You know,
Yeah,
Obviously.
computers were
obviously.
down.
Man. Well, we're back. Thank you for putting up with our shenanigans. There's more to come. I think we were left at a party, and the party was split. So the party's at a party, and they're split. Think about that one. All right.
And I think Corrigan's just at the party at this point. I don't know.
Oregon
that he
is the
has-
party.
I don't think he has other motives other than I'm at the party. Cool.
Corrigan, we'll have a split party the rest of the evening, and Corrigan's just going to be entertaining while the others are doing work. All right, so where we were left off, we had Lily, Eljor, and Fizzlepop at this large gathering, and there's Doggo in background, sorry. At this large gathering, and the gathering had emissaries from all across the land, and those 3 were working as more or less wait staff and help for the evening, whereas our dear fairy friend, Corrigan, has gotten into the party on a list and is entertaining at a table that has both a new friend he had met and a bunch of others who are enjoying stories. Whether they're true or not, we don't know. Cough, cough. Most of them were probably not true, thanks to those beautiful rolls.
There were no lies. There was just omissions.
There were omissions and things that, might have been pertinent for the actual story, but Corrigan went on nonetheless and kept them entertained. And as the party was going on, a sound had stopped the party. Trumpeting from the stairwell, leading from the stairs above, and a regal figure walking down, attire that's adorned in gemstones, some being true gemstones and some being magical implementations of them that float around and kind of sputter in and out of existence and seem to draw attention. This figure walks down, and it is a young man that could barely be over the age of 19. And he steps down and looks across the party. Thank you all for coming this evening. I am King Plague the Fifth. I know that things are, a bit different this year because I have only recently assumed power. And as he's starting to speak and introduce the party, next to Eljor, the 3 men that were talking as he sets down the drinks at their table, one of the men kind of huffs something under his breath. I hear he captured his brother, put him on a boat with 1 oar and sent him down the river. Maybe had a week's worth of rations. I don't trust this kid. And a couple from the table. The room is fairly quiet. You hear some muttering about as this new king is speaking. Now, I know that most of you have come from far journeys, and many of our heritages cross, because this was the epicenter of trade, and it is now the epicenter of leisure and entertainment. We have just recently opened the mines, so you may go back in and learn the history and understand what brought our nations together. And if you find something along the way, a spare gemstone or a relic, you may keep it. So, the townsfolk are gathering. It's only 1 silver to enter, and it's been a pleasure sharing all of those. But I'm not here to show off my new attractions. We're here to enjoy this evening of history and wonder. And, well, some of you will get to see some of the glory upstairs that helped found this nation.
we will be having certain small groups of parties traveling upstairs to see the relics. If you wish to be on that list, you may speak to the bartenders. We will start those tours in a few minutes, but enjoy the food, enjoy the fun, get to know one another, and we will see what's going on shortly. And as the king finishes, thank you for the raid and the host, Fire and Dice. We are currently on episode 2 of the Crystal Keep. This is a new season, new characters, all level 2, playing Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. So welcome, welcome, welcome. And we are currently kind of busting into a party. Well, at least the 4 players on screen are busting into a party. Across the top we have Lily, Eljor, Corrigan, and Fizzlepop. And Corrigan, our fairy, is entertaining, while the rest are our waitstaff. The king has introduced himself and the party of emissaries that are joining in for this historical event. The king just finished speaking, and he bows and waves a bit and steps into the crowd. Food and drink get placed into his hands, and the crowd kind of like backs away from him a little bit to give him space, as this is his home, his place. But people come up and bow and greet him and kiss his hand and say hi and shuffle off. And it seems to be a greeting party of many of these attendees coming to him. Now, the attention is on the king. There doesn't seem to be anyone guarding the stairs, but food and drink come busting out of the kitchen. All of the staff with fresh platters, aside from Eljor and Lily, who are not really part of the standard staff. One of the wait staff comes up by him. Go refresh your platters if you need to. Go. And keeps hustling by. The room is abuzz.
So does it seem like the stairs are like everyone's distracted and I could like probably sneak up the stairs now?
It's mostly distracted. You could get to the stairs. You might need a little distraction nearby, as there's still some folk mingling. But the general attention is towards the king and stuff happening on the floor. So if you want to roll stealth, you may try it. If you want to roll anything else, if you want to try and like entertain and like dance up the stairs as if you're part of the act, you can try whatever you wish to do.
I just try to sneak.
Okay. Please roll your stealth. And
I got a 17.
a 17 total?
Yeah.
You are taking 1 away from that because your crackly garb shows some sparkles as you move.
Okay, so it's
So a 16 total. You seem to go up the stairs fairly unnoticed. A few people kind of look your direction, but as you're just kind of walking up the stairs nonchalantly, not like stealthing and climbing.
yeah, like I know what I'm doing.
You seem, you seem to be as if you're walking up the stairs as you're the first guest up there. No one pays attention, and you are able to start making your way up the stairs. The steps go up about 10 or 15 and then turn, and you get up to that little landing, and it seems to go up a bit more. The hall was about 20 feet tall up to the ceiling, so you know you've got a bunch of steps to climb. Lily, you are near the stairwell and near the platform. The king just kind of passed right next to you, and all of the relics that continue to rise and fall through the floor. Could you please roll a perception for me? Uh-oh, you're muted. I think you said 14.
Sorry, 14, yeah.
14. You catch a glimpse of someone walking up the stairs. You're not quite sure who it is. You don't notice that it is Fizzle, but you see someone going back up the stairs. But because you're kind of in the room looking around, that's all you understand at the moment. Eljor, can I also get a roll from you?
Perception, yes.
Yes.
Oh, baby. 22.
22. As you're standing up after placing the drinks on the table and looking around, you do see a kobold heading up the stairs, dressed in a sparkly, crackly, shimmery
garb that when the kobold stops, it goes back to a normal canvas, and then as the kobold takes a couple steps up, it crackles and shimmers almost like small fireworks bursting off of the jacket. You recognize the reddish brown color of the tail to potentially be your new friend Fizzlepop, but you aren't too terribly sure. You do get a good glimpse that it is a kobold going up these stairs, however.
I will try to discreetly follow.
To discreetly follow. If you wish to go up the stairs, I'd like to have a stealth roll from you as well.
Okay.
And for those of you who have joined in on this raid, it looks like the Cadence, our current hype boss, is very, very close to being knocked off of the hype boss status. Just below me, the DM, you'll see there's a little health bar. If you knock the Cadence off, you get to assign a nat 20 to one of the players or the DM, meaning instead of rolling a die, they get to say, that was a nat 20, and they get to have the fun effects of the crit or whatever it may be. And it looks like Dave Makes Noises just did it with some bits. Thank you for the cheer. So please take a look across the players and the DM, and you get to choose someone on screen who gets it. All of them are chomping at the bit for that nat 20. So you can say by their player name or their character name, whoever gets that nat 20. They'll watch chat and claim it if they see it. So I'm going to continue. What was your role there, Sir Eljor?
That's the best thing I'm good at, so I'm happy to say this is probably my highlight, where I roll a 27 on stealth.
27 on stealth. You are able to just like saunter up the stairs, no problem. No one pays attention to you. You probably get like a mild like out of the corner of someone's eye, but it doesn't matter. They're all having fun. And you are able to catch up to Fizzlepop as she makes the turn to go up the next couple stairs. And you do realize as you get closer that it is indeed Fizzlepop.
Okay. I'll try and stop her and psst, psst. What are you doing?
He's right up behind you. You both are on a landing, mostly out of view. If anything, it's people at the very, very bottom of the stairs that are engaged in a conversation with Corrigan, actually.
So he went, psst, psst, right?
Yeah, right behind you.
And I go, did you spring a leak?
Oh, what are you doing?
I'm going up the stairs.
Why?
I'm looking for the things. I'm seeing what's up
Can I
there.
help you look for things?
I mean, if you want.
I would love to assist.
Now, I need another roll from Lily, and if you can tie a 27, you'll be able to see Eljor. If not, your perception lets you see something potentially.
I rolled again. It was a 3.
Oh,
a 3.
No.
At this point, you'd probably turned and looked at something, and you have no idea if anyone else followed the figure up the stairs.
Okay.
So you perceive nothing of Eljor heading up the stairs.
I don't even know who went up the stairs, so
Yeah.
have fun, whoever you are.
Have fun.
I will.
All right. So anything that Lily or Corrigan wishes to do in their respective spots before I explain a little bit of upstairs.
I need to refill my tray, but I would like to just trade a tray with someone so I don't have to go all the way back to the kitchen.
You see a few trays coming in that are fairly full. One that's actually got some pastries on it. Another smaller folk is running in. It's a goblin who's like holding it up above her head, and she's coughing and gagging. And she gets up to you and kind of looks at your smelly tray and like opens her eyes a bit more.
Can you believe some of the things that they eat here? These sweets are just overpowering.
And she's like holding it way up
You
over
want
her
to trade
head.
with me?
Yes, that's much better.
And she quickly grabs your tray and hands the sweets tray, and she like holds it out in front of her and takes a big whiff as if like to cleanse her nostrils of the sweets that you have. You see there's cakes and some very like iced treats that are pastries kind of, I guess, underneath of them. Some are chocolate covered, so you can't quite tell if it's a fruit or a pastry underneath. But
Okay.
very sweet aromas hit your nose as you take the treats.
Although this isn't the tray I was looking for, I will accept it. And when I start walking around with it, I'm assuming a lot of people are going to want it because it's sweets and they've been drinking and blah, blah, blah. So
Yeah.
when they go to like try to pick something off, I want to like move the tray just a little bit. So they barely miss it. And I'm just walking past as fast as I can because I want to like just try to scope out people who are wearing jewelry and notable items around this crowded room.
Yeah, as you're doing that, you pass by a few tables, and one of the guests gets their hand kind of on the edge of one of the treats and knocks a bit of cake onto the floor, and then you hear, and you see the gnome run past you and like start scraping the bit of cake into the bag before it makes a mess on any of the nice shoes you see across the group. It's
Yeah, I
and
pretend
again
I don't
hustling
even
and
see it.
bustling. Yeah, as you're moving quickly, you hear a few huffs and gruffs. Hey, okay, I guess later. Oh, what is this? Ah! And you hear just voices, and you feel the tray kind of wobble in your hand. I need you to make a sleight of hand for me to see if you can keep the balance on it,
Okay.
or a dexterity check
7.
if that's higher for you. A 7.
Oh.
Do you wish to have it be a dexterity instead of a sleight of hand?
Hold on just a second. Nope.
Nope. Okay, so either of them would have been bad. A partygoer reaches down and tries to grab a sweet off of your tray and actually hits the edge of the tray and it slips off onto the floor, making a bit of a clatter and treats go everywhere. A few actually land on the shoe of an elven man, and this elven man has shoes that look like roots woven together uh, to make very ornate boots. In the midst of them, you do see a few gemstones, but they are almost taking in light instead of letting the light reflect. So, like, it's such a deep red and such a deep green that almost hurts the eyes to see.
Can I make a check to see if this is the stones I'm looking for?
Yeah, if you wish to help pick up some of the treats, you might get a little bit closer. You can do a history check if you wish. We'll give you a +1 to your history check because you can get a little closer to them, to remember if that's something that might look like what's on your gauntlet or your
Okay.
glove.
That was almost really bad. 16.
16. Yeah, so you get a little closer to the shoe, and it doesn't seem to be what you are looking for.
Okay.
It seems to be a very powerful gem, or once was very powerful, but now is a very ornate piece in these like interwoven boots. It seems to almost sit freely as well in the socket that it's in, so it rattles a little bit as the shoe moves, but not as if it just kind of bouncing around, but magically like wobbles back into its spot. So it's being held by some form of like holding spell. But it
Okay.
isn't what you're looking for. It does intrigue you a bit because of that nature, but otherwise, you're not able to see much from down there. You get a few sweets back onto the platter, and a couple of the smaller help come up and are helping clean the floor, and one's wiping down the area. There's
Okay, great.
there's a young lady who is running around distributing rags to a couple of the help. And one of the goblins walks up and starts gently brushing some crumbs off of a shoe and going, I'm sorry, I've got this, I'm sorry, I've got this, and just like continues to apologize. And the noble actually doesn't really seem to mind or care because they potentially have such help at their place.
Okay. So in that case, I would like to go back to the kitchen area and try to trade trays with someone.
Yeah, your tray has actually been scooped up, so you're without a tray. So you can head back to the kitchen, and we can get a tray for you in just a moment. Let's see what Corrigan's doing in terms of entertaining. Now, the king has given a speech, and the group around you is a little bit more disconnected as they're trying to go see the king and mingle with others, as that kind of stopped your moment of being in the limelight.
Corrigan would go with the elven woman from earlier, just kind of like at her hip. Like, hi, lady, if you remember, I know no one. So any introductions you could make would be greatly appreciated.
Well, I'll do what I can, but there's quite a few folk that I don't recognize. With your skill set, you should be able to meet many if you just wander about and introduce yourself. I've seen quite a few eyes. Taking a look at your wings, they're beautiful.
Oh, well, thank you. What can I say? I am little. I was like, I'll take your advice and give it a try. And I'd like to flutter directly towards the king.
Directly towards the king. As you flutter directly towards the king, the young man looks up at you.
Oh, a fairy in our midst. Oh, I'm so excited. It's been years since we've seen them in the kingdom. What is your name?
Greetings, my liege. I am known as Corrigan She. I am a new arrival to your fair town.
What is your title? I must know.
I am known as the Wanderer, sir.
The Wanderer?
I keep an eye on the wilds.
Oh. That's a very prestigious role?
I don't know. Prestige is not really why we do it. It just needs to be done, and I shepherd the wild things and the plants and the animals, and I tend my grove, sir. My grove, of course, being the wilds.
Oh, okay. Well, do see me. I would like to learn more. I've very little understanding of the Fae, but specifically your types. It's intriguing. And at this point, you notice where the king had stepped away from. There's a man just standing there, like, "Excuse me, I was next to talk to the king," and just kind of like looking at you, but then also like trying not to be mad at you because he's watching the golden dust flutter off of you. So it's an angry but not look that you keep getting, just like okay, but I don't like this.
Just be like, oh, thank you for your audience, my liege. Have you met Tom? And then I'll point to the guy and I'll flutter away.
The king goes, "Thank you, we'll speak soon." And he turns and you hear, "Tom." And that's the conversation that starts as you flutter away. What direction do you wish to flutter?
Groups have not started going upstairs yet to see the
groups
things?
have not, but there's a bunch gathered around the bar as if they're trying to get on the list to go upstairs.
I'd like to, because I have the ability to flutter up and above, kind of come at it from the other side. If I get on the list.
Yeah, as you get up and over, you notice there's a dragonborn just standing there scribbling names. Yes, I've got you. Yep. And names are being shouted everywhere. He's got his large arm out and a big tablet in front of him where he's just writing on papers, and he flips the paper back and keeps writing. The bar top in front of him is a bit crowded with people leaning over trying to get his attention. So you can either get on the beer taps, the handles that are next to him, or you could just land on him if you wish.
I'd like to do a druid craft of just like a gust, not a gust, but like a breeze of wind past his ear with the intent to get him to like look over my way.
Yeah, he turns and kind of looks around as if he was about ready to report a draft or an open window that shouldn't have been behind the bar, but you know there are no windows there.
No, Corgan spelled Sidhe. Corgan She.
Corrigan, okay, yeah, yes, I've got you. The list is looking quite full. Do you have any needs? Do you need to go later, earlier? I know some species can't stay awake. Some must stay up all night.
Sooner's better than later, but who am I to impose? I was just talking to the king over there, and I have to talk with him later.
You know the king personally?
Oh, we've been introduced. Yes, we've met. He likes my wings, and I give a little.
Those are wonderful. If you're speaking with the king, did he have a time for you? Did he say tonight, tomorrow?
Oh, who's the king to share his schedule with the likes of little old me?
The Dragonborn's very intrigued, and he looks through the sheets that he's already filled out. Looks like the king will be going up on a specific tour in an hour. Is that all right to wait for it? That's the second tour of the night.
Oh, that would be wonderful, sir.
All right, I'll put you on that list. 1 hour, just meet here, and you'll get time with the king and the tour.
I want to reach out and like touch his face right here and be like, "Thank you," and then flutter off.
He leans back a little bit, and his jaw slightly agape, just stares at you for a moment, and then he shakes his head and gets back into taking names and flipping through the pages. Eljor and Fizzlepop, you're standing on the stairwell at the landing before going up, and you've agreed to work together. Now,
I thought it was already going up.
Well, you're at the landing walking up the stairs. I hadn't described it was up there, and this is the point where you get to see. So as you're walking up the stairs, you do notice that it's a little bit dark up here. There's some magical flames that disperse across the room, and they seem to hover within a couple feet. They're not very bright, as if someone kind of like turned down the gas to the flame, essentially. But you notice there's cases and cases of artifacts and various other things. Most of them seem to be in a glass casing. Some of them seem to be in like a shell of a casing, but you notice some glimmers of light as if there may be magical force protecting the thing in it or protecting things from it. So there's a few of those cases, but at the far end, you see one of the large windows where some moonlight is shining in, and it seems to be a bunch of bright gemstones gleaming at the end, as if like that's the big piece. There's big and small, and there's all sorts of colors, and as the moonlight is coming through, it's sending colors into the room in the immediate vicinity in the first 10 or 20 feet. That's about 70 feet down, basically the other end of this hall. You hear the liveliness below, but it's a fairly sturdy sound barrier, so it's just a little hum and murmur of downstairs, mostly coming from the stairwell.
So I want to like hustle down to the end.
Yeah. Do you want to hustle with just speed? Do you want to hustle with stealth? Do you want to just walk and hope for the best?
I mean, ideally stealthily, but I'm like, I want to be stealthy. Like, I don't want to be heard, but I'm also aware like it's not a huge thing because it's so loud downstairs. So
okay. So do you want to roll on stealth, or you just want to move through?
I can.
Up to you. If you want to roll on stealth, you may. If you don't, you can just push through. Up to you.
No, I'll pass.
All right. So you're just kind of hustling through, and as you pass by a tall glass case that seems to be what you might have seen a suit of armor in, but it seems empty. As you get up near it, like a ghastly figure of a suit of armor appears and just like starts slamming into the magical barriers around it, and you hear thum 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 thum, and it ripples this light around the barrier, and then the armor stands back and then just kind of leans back and forth as if it's ready to attack. But this case seems to be protecting not the armor within, but those outside.
Yeah. And I'm like so curious, but I'm like, nope, Gotta go look at those shiny, colorful.
Hashtag goals.
Eldor, you get a very good look at the armor. It seems to be a very ancient elven armor. And then when it slows down its movement, it fades out. The most it comes into existence isn't like a full set of armor, but you see almost like smoky lines of this armor, as if someone were fighting in a mist with some bright lights shining in.
Is this like a special type of animated armor that would have been like from my people, being an elf myself?
You recognize some of the breastplating to be something that might be multiple generations old, so
Wow.
1,000, 2,000 years old or more. So it's definitely something that like your grandfather or his father might have worn. It seems to be very
There's
much
nothing in it.
like there's nothing in it. There's no face. There's no hands. The helmet piece hovers where it's like sitting on a head of sorts, but there's no figure within. You
Does it react
recognize
to me?
yeah, as you move up closer to it, it bangs on the like magical walls, but it doesn't bang as hard, and it puts its arms down as it's ready to like swing out at you. But it seems to almost recognize your elven nature, and not be as aggressive. But it's still in a like a readied stance, ready to.
I just want to slowly put my hand up to the magical barrier, not touching it though.
Yeah, as you get close, you get a bit of a static shock, and the closer you get, the more it like ripples up your hand, almost like scooting your feet across the floor and then touching a sibling. That kind of shock, not enough to do damage, but enough to like send your nerve endings in all sorts of ways.
Huh. Okay. I'm interested in this, so I would love to continue to investigate how this thing is being held, see if there's any.
Yeah.
I want to free it. This is a relic of my people, and I don't feel like it should be stuck inside, because something like this isn't just pointedly violent for no reason, I would think. So,
Hope.
trying to figure out what's going on and how I might be able to get it out without
All right. So I'm going to
trying
task.
to kill me.
Yeah, I'm going to task you with this. You see this encasement. It's a little bit bigger than a suit of armor, so it can kind of step around in it, but it doesn't have like roaming space. What you can tell is the bars that would encase this thing are metal. You don't know what the magical source is around it. It's got four sides of what would appear to be a glass-like magical barrier. On the floor, there's a couple little spots that look like something could have been anchored down, and then in the dead center, there's a little piece of metal. It looks like a broken shard of something. So, as I go to Fizzlepop briefly, I want you to think as a player what you want to do, what type of actions you want to perform, and we can roll on those and figure out what you want to do next. Fizzlepop, you rush down to the end, and after you've been kind of like shocked by the armor, you see all sorts of gemstones. Like I said, they're all various colors. Some of them in glass. There's a few that are sitting on pedestals that have like a pillow under them, and they're large pieces. But as you get close, you hear a hum, and the floor kind of vibrates a little bit under your feet, as if there's a very strong force protecting the couple large stones that are sitting out. In the back, there's a pillow that probably is about 2.5 to 3 feet wide, about 2 feet deep, so a little bit oblong. And sitting in the middle of that pillow is a large stone with a spherical object in it that is about the size of a human head, roughly. And this stone glows and kind of shifts some of its coloring a bit. And as you get a little closer, the spherical object rotates, and you see an eye. It's essentially an eye floating within this stone, the size of a human head. Being an eye, it doesn't blink at you, but you see the iris kind of focus in on you, and you hear just a murmur in the back of your head.
Soran, is that you?
something is trying to talk to you as you get closer. The hum and buzz of downstairs almost dissipates as the voice rumbles in your head a little bit. You can't quite tell what it's saying.
So can I get closer to it, or
this one you can get a little bit closer to. I think you'll only be about 2 feet away before the humming and the shielding starts to show. Another magical barrier. This one has very black and green sparks to it. You would probably recognize this from your interactions with magic and such as very necromantic.
Okay.
Speaking of music, this is just a fun, jaunty little theme for playing with death magic.
Yeah.
So yeah, you hear murmurs and you get kind of close, and the eye's keeping its focus on you. We'll stop there for a moment, and we'll go back downstairs. What?
Nothing.
What? Unless you have something you want to say or do. You said okay. What do you want to say or do to the eye?
I wanna try to grab it.
You want to just reach out and try and grab it, even though there's this hum and crackle in front of you?
Well, I mean, I'm used to that stuff.
Okay. You take 6 points of necrotic damage as you hit this wall, and like you get your hands closer, and as you get a little bit closer, you feel like you're in gel, and like your hands get stuck, and they're only a few inches away from this beast or this thing that's within this large cell.
So stuck, like
You're stuck. You feel like you can pull them back out, but like it feels like it's a rubbery gel kind of pushing against you.
if I leave them there, will I get more damage?
Do you want to try?
I just like I feel like I would know.
You feel pain and stabbing in your hands as you push them in, and that pain and stabbing doesn't go away. So you've taken that damage immediately.
Yeah, but do I feel like it continues?
Yes, you continue to feel it.
All right. I pull them out, and I.
All right, fine.
Elder man.
Elder man.
Elder man. Are you talking to me?
Yeah, it's close enough.
Sure.
How do we get these things? I don't have any way
No, I'm not
around
really
these
sure.
magic barriers today.
Elder is about 15 feet around, or 15 feet away from you, and has been focused on this armor set.
I know I don't want to leave it here, but I think it may be wise of us to leave it for now,
All of
and
it?
maybe make sure we're here when no one else is. Because people are becoming soon, and they'll notice if these things are gone.
Yeah, but if we're gone, then it won't matter.
I'm not sure I can sneak this out. And how big is the gem she's looking at?
The gem she's looking at has a few inches of encasement around like a human head. So it's not a human head, but that's the size. So it's like a bowling ball almost, plus some. So it's fairly large.
What's the name of the king's brother?
The king's brother? Are you asking him? Are you asking me?
You.
Me?
I mean, voice, character.
Asking you.
Yeah, sorry. Do I know the name of the king's
You
brother?
can roll history if you want to recall what you had heard downstairs.
It's a 6.
6. You had heard the king's name was either Pudge or Porcupine or Porcini, but you don't remember.
It's like Puppuccino or Sludge or something like that.
I'm sure that's not it.
I'm sure
Wait, I
that's
think-
not it.
If we do take these out, do you think they'd fit inside your bag?
I mean, I've got
Easy way to
this
sneak
coat.
them out, right?
I mean, underneath
have
your
that
bag,
bag
you
of-
still have your bloated
Yeah.
satchel. Yes.
Yeah, and I've got
You fit
this,
them
and I
inside.
pull out the apron, and I go, shit, I gotta fold it back up. And I like fold it back up.
Oh, I think During this time, I would have loved to, while she was interacting with that, to make an investigation check to try and figure out how this magical barrier is being upheld.
Yeah, let's have you roll your investigation check so you have some knowledge of what could be holding this.
Ironically enough, if I was level 3, being an arcane trickster, I'd be able to do a lot more about this, but almost there.
Oh, P.S. That was necrotic damage, right?
Necrotic, correct.
You did that on purpose.
I did not.
Did that on purpose? Okay, investigation.
I don't look at your sheets and use all of...
When we get that free 20, do we have to use it before, or can we roll and then choose to use it?
No, you have to claim it. You have to say, I'm going to use that now.
Okay.
Or I'm just going to take...
so
I'm just going to roll.
I got an 11.
An 11 total.
Mm-hmm.
On investigation. All right, so
Yes.
It seems that each individual box may or may not have their own source of power, but you do notice there's gemstones stuck out of reach in some of the pillars. There seems to be like a gemstone in random places. So the best of your knowledge, the gemstones are pushing power through the room.
25.
Oh, so if we remove the gemstones, maybe these barriers will go away.
You got a 25 on investigation?
Yeah, and I feel like I would like.
Are you investigating the eye or the case that Eldor's at?
I want to understand the like mechanics because I'm at the eye. I'm not back at
Okay.
the case.
Oh, so you're just kind of yelling back to him. Okay. So you, on your investigation, when you had your hands in, you kind of recall seeing that it feels like the force field is coming down. And as you look up and around, you notice there's some gemstones in the ceiling, much, much larger than ones that are kind of stuck around the room. And you vaguely remember as you had your hands in and like winced from pain that the gemstone above you is glowing bright green.
I want to take my hammer and I want to throw it up at the gemstones.
Okay, can I get a strength check from you on just throwing it and getting like the hurl? Because it's a good 25 feet up.
Strength check? Just a straight
strength check.
Okay. Damn. Okay. Oh, okay. It's an 18.
An 18. You hurl your hammer up, and it's careening right towards that gemstone, and then it hits and bounces off a green and black like part of the same force field. And it seems like it kind of cones down. It's a much smaller bit of force field that ripples at that point. So it like comes down in a very thin cone down to your eye. But it bounces off and drops to the floor.
Oh, the gemstone does?
No, your hammer.
No, it comes back to me.
Oh, so as it's about to hit the floor, you just like...
It comes right back to me.
You just like snap your fingers and it's right back in your hand.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Are you a returning weapon? Is that what that is?
Yeah.
Nice.
I get returning weapons. I ain't got no money for that stuff.
Artificer.
Yeah, so as you've learned this stuff, you both know that the gemstones play a part. We're going to pop that back downstairs so we don't leave people stranded for too long. Oh, man. Nessie just came in with a resub, and we are 43 HP away from having a new hype boss. That's like a follow.
Anybody's
or I think 25 bits. And I say that, and I know that Jared's over there going bits, and he's gonna.
Nah, not gonna do it this time.
All right,
about it.
Somebody's got an almost free Nat 20 to give. Thank you for the resub and the subs, everyone who's been here. I'm looking over at the feed. We've got a lot of bits and subs. Thank you, everybody. All right. So back downstairs, we have Corrigan, who just flew away after getting their name on the list to go up within an hour. Was there a direction you were flying away, Corrigan?
I
or
mean,
a thing you
I'm
were
just...
looking for, or something you do?
No, I literally am just hanging out, waiting for my name. Yeah. Keeping an eye out if anyone's doing anything like crazy suspicious, but
Okay.
Nothing in particular.
Could you roll a perception for me, please?
I sure can. I'll use my wood die because I'm a druid.
The druid die.
20, unnatural.
20 unnatural. So your unnatural 20. With that, you look around the room and your keen eyesight, you notice that you can't see Eljor, you can't see Fizzlepop, but you do notice that Lily is hustling towards the kitchen without a tray in her hand, on a mission, like she's ready to get something or is after something. You're not quite sure what, but she's the only one of your party that you recognize in the room at this moment.
Does she look like she's in danger?
No, she just has this look on her face, like she's really focused on something. Like she's heading towards the kitchen for a reason, basically.
And let her do her thing. I'll just work around the room. I'm doing my thing. I don't know what kind of schemes they're working on.
All right.
So we'll see.
And as you're looking around the room, you too notice the artifacts on the pedestals sinking through the floor and bouncing back up. And it seems to be on like almost a rotation around the 5. So one sinks and pops back up. A few moments later, another sinks and pops back up, and it just keeps rotating. It takes a full like 2-ish minutes to get around the circle. But you notice that happening. And there's a few folk just standing around looking at them and walking past, not really doing much more than just kind of observing briefly.
I mean, I'd look at them just
Right.
because now I'm basically in that kill time for an hour.
Yeah, kill time for an hour.
Till my audience with the king.
All right, so you're in kill time for an hour. We will go to Lily as things are going on. Lily, you're hustling back towards the kitchen. As you bust through the door, there's a bunch of platters set out. There's some sweets on one. There's some more savory snack-like things on another. There's one that's got small little cups of like gelatinous and like pudding-like liquids. So kind of like a Jell-O, kind of like a pudding. One of the gelatinous liquids seems to be like bubbling and rumbling on its own, but that seems to be more on the sweeter variety from what you can tell, but not like as sweet as some of the other treats. There's one that has just some crackers and just breads and things, probably something to make sure the party guests aren't feeling the effects of the alcohol too quickly, just filling the stomach a little bit. There's one also that has all those stinky meats on it again. They're all sitting on a table ready to be picked up.
I'll take the one with the little cups.
As you pick it up, yeah, some of the gelatinous goo wiggles a bit more than you'd expect, and then some of the other substances seem to be almost hovering in the cup, not touching the sides, as if like being held without force, or with a magical force, without like force of the cup. And then there's one that seems to be the whole cup is kind of wobbly, but it looks like a glass cup.
Is this like flubber?
Yeah, the whole vessel is wobbling around, and it seems to be like the same glasses they've used on each of them, but there's that one that sticks out to you a little bit potentially as being unnatural. But they all smell okay to you. There's nothing pungent. There's nothing overly sweet. There's nothing that like bothers you in the least, and you're able to take that back out to the floor if you wish.
I would like to do that.
All right. As you head back,
okay.
Yeah.
Go
As
ahead.
you head back out to the floor, it's busy out there as well, as you'd expect. There's a lot of strong conversation, but there isn't anything that's wild and over the top like earlier in the night. So now it's a bit more relaxed, and people are starting to fall into more pods of either like minds for things or varied minds for just like sharing. And you see folks like pulling stuff out of their small satchels at their side and showing things off. So it's a very much like collaborative evening.
Are there any bits of conversation that may like catch my eye, catch my ear?
I was going to say catching your eye would hurt if conversation came your way. Let's see. Oh, it's really gross. Just
Spittle.
spitting, like someone's huffing and puffing and spitting in their story. Yeah. There are bits of conversation that you hear specifically around the groups that are like pulling things out and sharing. They're talking about artifacts and gemstones and tablets and heirlooms and various things that are like precious to them from different regions and why they're precious. And then there was a few things that came out in that group, as you heard, that are just like the stick of something or other, or like the stone of, and they're very mundane looking items to you, but they come out of like a goblin's purse or a tabaxi's purse, where it's like potentially their culture values certain things that others might not.
Okay.
But you do hear a few things that might catch your ear about gemstones. You don't see anything that matches per se in that conversation.
Okay, and is the guy that's sort of taking names for the tour, is he still out and about?
Yeah, he's busy behind the bar. There's still a bunch of people there. He seems to be taking less names and like putting a drink
Okay.
or two on the bar. But he's still taking a
That's what I'm
name
hoping
down
for.
here and there.
Great. I would like to approach him and speak with him.
So as you approach this dark green dragonborn looks down at you. Yeah, yes. Do you have drinks that are needed out on the floor?
No, I just had a quick question. Nobody answered this earlier because they didn't know, but maybe you would know. Is there going to be a tour for the staff?
Not normally. The staff usually must hear secondhand accounts from those they came with. But this first group, we've had a few drop off. If you wish to, he looks around a moment and he taps one of the other bartenders. You too, sir. If you both wish to go up on this next group, I won't tell anybody. This first group is just to make sure our tour guides are comfortable with groups for this evening.
Yes. I would love to.
All right, it starts in about 5 minutes. Hurry about the room with your tray, drop it off, and step back over to the bar like you're ordering a drink.
Okay, you got it.
And he
So I
looks
quickly-
around. Yep.
Yeah, I quickly start shuffling around. I'm like, here, do you want some stuff? Do you want some stuff? And if nobody takes stuff like right away, I'm just going to find a nearby trash can and dump it.
You actually get a lot of takers. The few things left on your tray after a quick hustle about the room are the weird glass cups that seem to be too wobbly for being glass. And as you're making your way back towards the bar, there's a little hunched over goblin that walks up. And he looks at you and goes,
I see you've got the magical treats on your tray.
Would you
Have
like
you tried?
one?
Oh,
Or
no. I
five?
can't stomach those. Most can't.
he looks around the room.
You look a little bit out of place. Most of the servers know what they're doing. Those go over there.
And he points, and you see off to the side of the stairs, on the other side from where Corrigan was having conversation, you see some flickers and glimmers up along the wall, almost as if there's like a painting that is like dripping. But you see these flickers and glimmers on a couple of the paintings on the stairs, or basically the wall of the stairs that leads up. And the little goblin looks at you.
Have you been over there in that corner yet? It's surreal.
No.
Well,
Normally, I carry the meats, but right now I've got a different tray, so I don't understand what I'm supposed to do.
just take
Can
those
you help me out
wobbly
here?
ones. Take those wobbly ones over there. The patrons over there will enjoy them.
Thanks.
And
And I just
he
awkwardly shuffle off, like,
shakes his head and walks away. Do you shuffle off towards the corner he sent you to? Or do
Yes.
you... All right. So as you walk over towards that corner, the bar's about 10 or 12 feet away on the end where like the service station is. And you get over to this corner, and there doesn't seem to be a table. There doesn't seem to be any like seating. But as you get closer, the paintings ripple a little bit and waver. And as they do, you see like a ghastly hand pop out from one of the paintings of a man standing tall, and then a face pops out, and you see the face look at you, and it's the same man that's in the painting. He goes, "Ah, you're bringing the treats for us, thank you. I begin to think the serving staff has forgotten about us." And his voice is very ethereal and wispy. And a few of the other paintings pop out. You see a bunch of different ages pop out of the paintings. "We've been having some lively discussions, but we would like some more of those treats. What flavors have you brought?"
I don't know. And I just hold the tray out to them like, oh my god. The painting is looking at me.
As you hold the tray out, some of the glasses hover up and sink into the paintings. And you notice the paintings change a little bit. Instead of like being in a pose, you see each of the paintings change to them enjoying like a drink or a snack or something. And your tray is cleaned of these things. And the painting, the ghastly figures from the paintings have like dissipated back into their changing paintings. When they're in the painting doesn't change anymore; it just sits still. You see a ripple here and there, and like a ghastly hand comes out and then goes back in. You hear some voices kind of in the space, chattering amongst each other as if these paintings are talking.
I get out of there. That creeped me out. So I'm gonna go drop off my tray in the kitchen and head to the bar.
Yeah, as you head to the bar.
Assuming my tray is empty.
Yeah, your tray is empty at this point. You just had those strange last containers. As you head to the bar, the Dragonborn kind of looks at you, and he grabs his fancy apron and does this and points at the plant right next to the bar top, as if you were to deposit your apron there. The young man who was behind the bar walks out, and he ties his shoe next to you and throws his apron into the plant and kind of looks back at the lead bartender, which is that Dragonborn. And the Dragonborn gives a wink and points over to the stairs. You see a couple tour guides standing there, and they have tablets of paper that they're flipping through, and they're talking to one another. It seems to be you, this young man, and two others that walk up behind you, both of an orcish background. One seems to be half orc, and one seems to be full orc. And they're huffing and puffing and laughing about something and slopping their drinks a bit, and looking a bit like they've had a little too much to drink. Potentially one of the reasons why this group is a little empty. People saw that it was the orcs, and they're like punching each other, and then they punch the young man and laugh a little bit. Like they're really rowdy with what they're doing. And this young man is like kind of whimpering, grabbing his arm a little bit. They don't swing down at you. They just kind of don't mind your presence. You can't quite tell what they're saying, and the tour guides are like looking at each other like, "Oh man, this will be fun." Corrigan, you notice this going on, and you catch sight that Lily is over there in the group as well. If you wish to say or see or do anything about that.
Again, I'm just watching. If she's in trouble, I'll step in, but elsewise,
no, she doesn't appear to be at this point. And the two tour guides take this small party of 4 up the stairs. "All right, we have a collection of items upstairs. We ask that you be careful. Don't spill your drinks. Don't punch the glass. There's a lot of magical items up here that could injure, harm, or even straight up kill you. They could kill you. Just be careful. There's a lot of deadly things up here." "Yes, what my companion has said. There are things that are contained for reason." Death is the reason. And the second tour guide seemed to just like hate his job. He's been doing this for too long and just is like straight to the point. So don't touch anything. You'll have fun upstairs. If you're not having fun, you know where the stairs are. Go enjoy another drink or two, whatever. And then the second tour guide gets an elbow. Oh, yes. Learn all about the wonderful, flips a few pages, items of great treasure and of very much importance to our community and whatever. And they head up the stairs and lead the tour group forward. And as the tour group starts heading up the stairs, Eljor and Fizzlepop hear people approaching up the stairwell, and some of the voices of the tour guides talking something about history of Crystal Keep and keeping all of the most precious crystals in hiding, but they come out once a year for the great festival of lights, blah, 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 blah. Some sarcastic joke here and there from tour guide number 2. And they see it as they walk up the stairs, lights, those little hovering small flames start glowing a bit more to the presence of the tour guides as they enter the room. They're about 60 feet away from you all as you're at the far end. And you do notice that Lily is amongst the group at this point. The group doesn't notice you. Lily, can you make a perception check to see if you know much about who else is up here?
Dirty 20.
Dirty 20. You do quickly see at the far end as you're looking around, Eljor and Fizz, like, looking over their shoulder at the group, now suddenly aware that there are people coming up the stairs. Eljor, Fizz, do you do anything as you kind of catch eyes with Lily?
Are there any like curtains or doors nearby?
There aren't any doors, but there's a bunch of curtains that kind of pull around some objects, mostly to keep them from like being looked through into the next object. Small barriers, small barricades to visuals. There are a couple little, what seems to be chests spread throughout. The chests look like one of them has a feather duster hanging out of one of them. The chest is big enough that you could probably put a medium to small size human in, or a very tight squeeze for like an Eljor if he decided to dive in and dump the things out. But it's definitely like cleaning supplies or things to have upkeep in the area.
I'll probably go, because it doesn't sound like I can hide behind any curtain.
You kind of could. You'd get a corner that might buy you a few minutes of time if people are coming your way.
Okay, I do that because it sounds like it's the closest and I'm smaller, so.
Yeah, you both could do that. You could buy a few minutes if you each want to roll stealth at advantage, because you've got a bunch of corners you could pop around. You could do that.
Yeah, that's what I'll do that as well.
18, boy.
That's at advantage.
Dirty 20.
Dirty 20 and an 18. So you're able to kind of poke into some of these little curtain areas or cordoned off areas and peek around and see what's going on. And you notice the tour group just moves throughout, finally down towards the eye. They don't see you. You're able to kind of move about and listen in a little bit. When they get down towards this eye relic, the tour guides talk a little bit about it. Yes, down here you'll see a bunch of various gems that we've pulled out from the caves below. Some of them are quite powerful, some of them are quite deadly, some of them are just quite pretty. If you look in the middle, you can see there's this one. And the first tour guide clears their voice a couple times. And then the eye turns and looks at the group, looking at each of the members in the group. The tour guide like puts his hands up quick. This relic was pulled 200 or so years ago
It's one of the largest crystals we've ever removed from the mines. Now, you see how the colors change on it. This crystal is living. At least we believe it to be. As we pulled the crystal from the caves below, it reacted to the light and we saw the eye within. Now, once it came to the surface, our lands were suffering drought. 23 years of drought. We barely were surviving at that time. As it came to the surface, rain poured for days. And when it stopped, things were abundant and full of growth. Now, over a year or so's time, the area started deteriorating. And, we thought the crystal of the eye here had something to do with it. So, we began bringing things to the eye, showing it things. Swords, relics, artifacts, books, history. Every time we brought something new that it hadn't seen, there were blessings. Abundant blessings if it was of great value, smaller blessings if it wasn't. If you were sick and you brought it a version of your favorite soup, you might feel a bit better. If the land was in peril and you brought it a tome that only exists in its entirety in one place, the armies would disappear. The enemies would go away and the lands would be safe. So, this eye has some mystical, magical powers about it that grant some wishes to those who bring new knowledge to it. Now, it's been a few hundred years, and, well, we aren't running out of knowledge. We have to trickle feed new things to it. So, we've shown it all of the relics on this floor, just like we've shown you all of the relics. Yeah, we show it a bunch of things. You get some rain. Your cat comes back to life. Whatever. It's a magical eye. So if you have something you want to show it, and you have a wish, you might get something. If it's very, very powerful and prominent, like some of the relics, most of the folks downstairs have brought, I don't think any of you have, because I see waitstaff, a couple drunken orcs. You probably broke your thing as you were coming this way. Well, if you brought something special, it might do something for you. Otherwise, go enjoy the party downstairs. There's a few more things on this side that I want to show you. And they walk over towards the suit of armor and a few, empty cases nearby. Please stay back as we look at these quick. They're dangerous. And the second tour guide walks up and, kind of stealths up towards the armor and waves his hand in front of it, and the armor just starts banging, comes to life and starts banging on the walls of this glass case. The orcs jump back and spill the remainder of the beer. That's fun. I want one of those in my main hall. Yeah. 2 of those. That'd be, maybe we can get them to fight. Yeah. And the orcs pull out their bags. How much for this? And they start pulling through diamonds and gems and whatnot. Tour guides, none of these relics are for sale. We told you earlier. So, if you wish to see anything more, you may, but we can end your tour now because you've seen all of the fun stuff up here. The second tour guide goes, no, not all the fun stuff, and taps on the case next to the armor, and a sword that didn't exist in the case flutters up very much like the armor. Looks like a scimitar, but it just floats in place. It doesn't attack, it just kind of hovers there. Very much the same presence. Like a sword in the mists, but the sword isn't present. So kind of smoky, kind of ethereal in that case. And then after a moment, the tour guides are like, if you wish to stay up here any longer, you may. But the next tour will be up in, I think, 5 or so minutes. So we must hustle down shortly. So we'll be in the main hall watching. If you have any questions, let us know.
I want to hang back and sort of stick around the glowing orb.
The glowing orb, the gemstone with the eye in it?
Yes.
Or, yeah, alright. So that's actually not too far from where Eljor and Fizzlepop are hiding.
Great. Do I by chance have the glove?
You
With me?
probably have it with you if you have a small
Okay.
satchel or a bag.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
So, I'd like to pull. Are there still people around that could see?
The tour guides are just kind of like minding their own about 15, 20 feet away, briefly looking over at people once in a while to make sure that you, the bartender, and the two orcs aren't breaking into anything or having questions.
Okay. When I get a chance, when no one is looking my direction, I want to pull the glove out and show it to the eye.
As you pull the glove out and show it to the eye, you get a moment. In the back of your head, you hear,
I've seen this relic before, but it was in one piece. This is new to me. Do you wish?
I wish for the stone.
and you feel a sharp pain in your pocket at your side, or the pouch at your side, as if something just kind of like flew out of nowhere and smacked you right in the side.
And I'd like to just subtly put my hand where the pain is.
Yeah, as you put your hand in the pocket or satchel at your side where it felt like something flew out of nowhere and hit you, you feel a small gem or stone of sorts, kind of pokey on the edges. So you believe it's a shaped gem.
Okay. I'm gonna put the glove back in my satchel.
Okay.
And say thank you. And walk away.
No response.
And now I did see the other two up here, right? We made eye contact.
Oh yes,
No?
you did. You
Yes,
did.
no?
Yes. You did. Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So you know they're up here.
Psst, guys. Hey.
Fizz, you can jump in.
Well, I'm behind the curtain.
You're behind the curtains. You don't see anyone around you at the moment.
Okay, thank you for finally
Well,
clarifying that.
Palmetto.
I go.
Hey. I got one of the
What?
stones.
Trying to get the eye to look.
Ow.
The eye's not looking. You're just far enough out of its influence, it
Is
seems.
that I like?
You watch Lily. She's a bit closer. She's standing up in front of it. The influence seems to be within the couple feet there. So you have to be standing out like in front of the gem. You're hiding in a curtain area right now.
I'll step out.
The guides are looking around briefly. They don't seem to notice what Lily's doing
Oh,
or
they're not
Eljor
gone
at the
yet.
moment. They're not gone yet.
No,
No.
that's it.
Oh,
I
I
wanna,
thought they
like-
were gone.
I want to get to a
They
spot
just weren't
where
looking.
I can, like, make contact with the eye, but I don't want to get caught.
Okay. This tour group will be going down shortly. You hear the guide saying something about they'll be exiting the floor, so follow us down. And the guides actually start walking down, and the drunk
Okay.
orcs start following and stumbling behind.
Okay, I want
Uh,
to sneak.
The bartender is just behind and kind of looks around, and he just looks happy that he was able to get upstairs and doesn't pay any mind that Lily, who had come up with him, isn't there. So he goes back down behind the orcs.
Okay, so I'm gonna sneak out as soon as they like are out of vision,
Mhm.
and I want to be like, show up my little ring
Your little ring.
of social distancing.
Okay. So as you show it the ring, you hear in the back of your head,
Ah, welcome back. This is interesting. Not as interesting as a tome of many secrets, but what is your wish?
And the whole time, like, all I've been thinking about since I threw that hammer down is like, how to get the shields down
Okay.
with those gems. So, it's probably something.
So
That's all I'm
you're,
thinking
you're
of.
just thinking about dropping shields.
Dropping the like magic shields around all the things.
Please just roll me a straight DC check. Just roll me a 20. Roll me a
Did you
intelligence
have mine?
check here. Did you have yours? No, it's yours. You can assign it.
It's a 22.
It's a 22. So the eye, in your frantic excitement, understands that you want to drop the shields, and you hear in the back of your head, interesting request. And you hear thunk, 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 as gemstones fall from various areas of the room. And they start hitting the floor. That also means things like
Yeah, the armor, but she was
armor are now open potentially.
Can you
There's about
this?
10 or 12 gemstones on the floor right now.
Eldor, quick! I start rushing around and grabbing the stuff on like the pillars and.
As you're
I'll
hustling
grab the things
around,
close to me and then go towards the armor, though.
yeah, as you're grabbing a few things, the sword you see floats up out of its case and just kind of hovers into the middle of the room and just like sits as if it's waiting to be grabbed for battle. You don't see the armor as it hasn't been activated or bothered at the moment. It doesn't just like rush out, so it has some activation to it. But at this point, we're going to go downstairs for a moment as you're scurrying to get a few of these gemstones. The guides are standing at the bottom of the stairs and they're looking around. Next group! Next group! Who's our next group?
That's been the hour has gone past, right?
Yeah, the hour has gone past at this point. There's been a lot of chaos that has happened, and this is your group here, Corrigan.
I'll flutter on over to the bar, to the meeting spot.
Yeah, as you flutter on over, the Dragonborn that you had put your name on the list with walks over. Sorry, sir. The king won't be joining this group, he whispers to one of the tour guides. He's under the weather. He had one too many shots with... And he points over to the bar, and you see 3 or 4 dwarves sitting there, and they're just throwing back a bunch of alcohol. And they're just like making the barkeeps work for it. And you see the king kind of being like hustled out to the side, his head's hanging a little bit, and someone else is just like, "Don't worry, the king will be back shortly. He's had a little bit too much to eat and drink for this evening. We're getting him back on his feet. Enjoy the festivities." And there's like 4 people watching. No one's really caring at that moment because there's so many bits of conversation going throughout the room. Corrigan, it actually seems it might just be you, because the people going with the king were either the dwarves at the bar or a few others that are like stumbling out behind the king as if they may have been waiting together. The tour guides look around and look at you. Oh, so just one?
It may seem that way. I mean, I could perhaps, I look around the room for the elven lady that from the pub.
You don't see her at the moment, but you do see the man that you met at the pub. He's got a couple more men around him, and they're all just like really close and pointing at things at the table. So you would probably assume she's somewhere near-ish, but not in the immediate vicinity.
I'll look up and say, well, it appears it is just me. Don't worry though, I'll be no fuss. After all,
well,
I'm little.
We'll head upstairs. We'll tour you through. Because it's just you, you can ask whatever questions you want. Don't touch anything. There's a lot of deadly things up there. Don't touch anything because it could kill you. Don't touch anything because I don't want to kill you. Don't touch anything because, well, don't touch anything. And then the second of the 2 tour guides gets the elbow again from the first.
What he's trying to say is there's a bunch of relics upstairs. We'll teach you about them. Ask any questions you wish. Since you are only tourer, you may move freely if you wish. Let's head upstairs. The lights start to come up again upstairs as you're gathering gems, and you see the two tour guides and Corrigan floating up behind them. There's a couple stones on the floor. If the three of you who are upstairs in this little bit of chaos want to make rolls on how many of those stones you can pick up, I will take a sleight of hand or a stealth check, whatever you wish to roll.
Sleight of hand, 18.
All right.
Stealth. 26.
26 on sleight of hand or stealth?
Stealth.
Stealth. All right. Fizz?
I did 12 on sleight of hand, but I also wanted to hide back behind my curtain, so I rolled the stealth because I thought you'd make me do it.
All right. If you want to hide, what is your stealth?
I got an 8.
An 8. Okay, so Fizz, you like go for a gemstone and kick it across the floor, and it's like skitters over towards the stairs. And you turn around to get behind a curtain and just like trip over your foot and like crawl behind the curtain quickly. Your tail's hanging out. The other two have quickly picked up a couple gemstones. It looks like the one that you'd kicked across the floor towards the stairs is the remaining. And they're able to just kind of like tuck down a little bit where they're at. But the guides here and as there's something up here just like skittering around. Well, there's probably a suit of armor or something alive, so Fairy, please stay away from some of the cases. They can be a bit troubling. But I have no fear that you should be safe here.
Don't.
What?
Can I touch them?
Well, there's you'll get a static shock beforehand, but you'll see. He walks over towards the armor and he waves, and the armor comes alive. And instead of banging on the barrier, it just like throws a shoulder into guide number 2 and just sends him across the room, and he lands flat on his back. And the first guide just looks panicked, like he wet himself in the room, and is just standing there staring at the armor, jaw agape. Drops his pad of all of his notes and just like crunches down on the floor. No. There's a bit of chaos that has happened here.
Can I step
the
out
armor-
of my hiding place?
Yeah, you can step out of your hiding place. The
Just,
armor
like,
is now
I'm gonna
free.
step in the way.
Yeah, has thrown the guy out across the room. As you step in the way of the armor, correct?
Mhm.
As you step in the way of the armor, the arms are up as if they were gonna fight, and then they come down just a little bit, and it stands tall as if it wishes to understand your meaning why you stepped in the way.
Can I speak in Elvish?
Can you speak in Elvish?
I'm going. Yes, I can.
Okay.
May I speak in Elvish and say?
Yes, you may.
This man means you no harm. You are free.
The armor stands up tall a little bit and like looks like it cracks its neck a little and gives you just a little salute, very much of a style of like not the subordinate to leader, but more of a peer-to-peer type thing. It recognizes some of your skill set and your ability to step in this, so it recognizes you kind of as a peer. And then it steps backwards, and when it stops, the fog essence that shows the armor just kind of dissipates. And you notice the sword in the room just falls to the floor and then disappears on the floor. You see slight twinges of the light kind of ripple around it as it's still there, but it doesn't have the etherealness. You're reaching for the sword?
I'm gonna reach for the sword. Yeah.
As you grab the sword, you feel that it comes a little bit alive and fights you briefly, but then it succumbs to your will as you're essentially its new master, holding it as it is. You now have a sword of ethereal qualities, an elven relic.
This is essentially a scimitar +1, but it is invisible when it's placed down on a table. The owner, who is attuned to it, knows its location.
Okay.
So it's attunable with location finding scimitar +1. If you wish to make any of those
Okay.
notes, so you can put it into your character sheet. This is yet another homebrew item.
Sure.
You see a little bit of the armor shift and like stand taller, as if almost that helps it understand your presence, that you're not afraid of the ethereal qualities. The man who got thrown across the room is laying unconscious, as he just like got blasted into a pillar and just is kind of out. The other man is just like cowering and whimpering and like sliding himself back towards the stairs. At this moment, all of you are available to see one another and speak. Everyone is pretty much either incapacitated or just like in their own delirium. If you wish to,
I would like
have any
to
conversation.
fly towards the guy that passed out.
Yeah.
And be like, hold here, you there, and point at the other one. It's like, oh, something's awry. Go and tell someone that someone has been in here and has made off with things. Look, there's empty cases.
And as you do that, the one that's like crouched and cowered on the floor, like whimpers.
Oh, okay. Are you able to defend yourself, sir?
I'll be okay.
Okay.
And
I
tour
go
guide
over and I tap the side of the guy that's down.
So tour guide number 1 is like crawling himself backwards down the stairs, whimpering. Tour guide number 2 sits up as you're smacking him on the face a little bit. What? Huh?
I thought the shields that are holding the relics have failed. There's chaos. Cases are empty.
The guards! The guards! And he like stands up and brushes past you and jumps over tour guide number 1 and starts like stumbling down the stairs. It's quiet up here for a moment. And then you hear kaboom. And the window behind the large gemstone with the eye in it shatters, and a ball of something like drops to the floor and rolls up and kind of unfurls a bit, and a small goblin stands up, and the ends of his hair and some of his ears are smoking a little bit. You recognize this to be Stock, one of the 3 goblins that you were encountering earlier. He stands up, coughs, and comically smoke comes out of his mouth.
My brothers and I, we've got our catapult system working. It's explosions. So, Beryl just got this wonderful idea to make a tube, and if you put something in the tube with some explosions behind it, you can launch it. So we're making some fun stuff happen downstairs. I figured you need a hand over here.
Yeah, Stick, we need to get out of here.
Like
Stick, I'm
now.
stuck.
The gem's on the ground, right?
The gem is sitting on the gem with the
eye.
eye in it is still sitting on its pedestal. The window behind it got shattered, and this contraption blasts through.
I want to kind of follow the second tour guide down.
All right.
And ideally with the intent of stalling and pausing
Okay.
with explanation to give them time to get out.
Yeah. All right. So you follow down, and the second tour guide like lands on the pedestal podium thing that is at the bottom, and is shouting out, "There's it's loose. The things." And he's very, very like incoherent, and you can't understand really what he's trying to say. And the party kind of hushes and looks at him. The large dragonborn from behind the bar walks over and leans in and shakes the man a little bit. "Speak words, man. Speak words. What is going on?" And there's a little bit of discussion between the two, and the dragonborn looks a bit stumped, and then looks back to you, Corrigan, and says, "Do you know what this man is speaking of? He's mumbling and..."
Someone has made off with some of the items upstairs. There's cases open and chaos.
Thank you, sir.
It knocked this man across the room.
Thank you, sir. We'll deal with this. Stay down here, and we'll bring in the guards. And the Dragonborn rushes
Remember,
off.
things are dangerous. They said don't touch them or they'll kill you.
Dragonborn rushes off as if he was prepared as like a first line of defense here. We'll spend just a second upstairs before we finish out our episode tonight. Two what?
I have two things I want to do real quick.
Yeah, so upstairs.
I've had 'em
Upstairs
held.
is,
I've been thinking.
as Corrigan's been like pushing this this wall of social aptitude here. What are we doing upstairs?
I want to propose something, but first I want to give an order, if I can try, in the direction that I saw the armor disappear in Elvish, and I'm going to say, if you would like to leave with us, help us escape. If helping us means to stay invisible, then do it and follow us quietly.
As you say that, you see the arm just kind of give the little flick. None of the rest of the body comes to life as it's very still, standing in attention to you. And then you see very slight motions of it, like kind of backing up into the case that it stood in, just for the time being. And what is the second thing you wish to do? Or is that it?
Oh, I'm going to look at Fizzlepop and say, do you think you could fit that in your bag? And I'm going to point at the stone with the eye.
You can try.
It might be a little too big to go into the hole, however.
That's what she said.
Oh, we
Sorry.
had our first
Sorry.
that's what she said from a cast member, not from chat. Yeah. Oh man.
So
We just got our PG-13 rating
So we
tonight,
talked
guys.
about the like eye gem, right?
Yeah, the eye gem is about the size of like a bowling ball bag because the eye itself is about the size of a bowling ball, which is roughly the size of most human head. For those of you who don't bowl.
I'm gonna try something really, really quick.
Okay.
It probably won't work, but I like show it my crossbow.
What's special about your crossbow that it wants to see?
Does the rapid whatever.
So you show it the crossbow and it's imbued with the rapid fire. And as you show it, the eye speaks back to you. I've seen many of these before, but this one is crafted ever so slightly different. I'll give you the smallest of wishes. The inside or the out?
Well, the opening, so
The inside or the out?
the outside.
As you say that, the bag increases about half its size. The opening is a bit bigger, but now it's a bit more cumbersome for you to carry.
Okay.
It's the blow up of the balloon. You now would wrap your arms around because remember it's inflated essentially because of the air inside. So before it was like you could kind of like lightly hug it. Now you're just like holding it with your arms stretched out fully. That's how big it's gotten.
Yeah, but like I put it in and then I like so I put the eye in and I go, "Can you carry it to Eldor?" Because he's
It doesn't change the weight, but it is a bit more cumbersome.
Well, yeah, I'm small and he's taller,
All
so I'm
right.
like, "Do you want to carry it?"
A very lightweight
Sure.
bag. You almost don't feel it on your back, but because you can slide the eyeball in the stone now, it is a bit bigger. That may, with a bit of a squeeze, fit a thin or a thinner human, I guess. So not a heavy build,
Like a suit of elven armor?
like a suit of elven armor, potentially with a bit of work.
Wait, can you go
An
through the
elf
hole?
with a bit of work. It could fit. The suit of armor might be a bit bulky for this, but it could fit the wearer of said armor, essentially. Meaning, it would fit a
Wearer.
human or a
Yeah.
inhuman or most elves.
Okay. Well, it sounds like we have company making their way here, so we need to
We do.
have a reason why we're here. We rushed here when we heard the screams?
Well,
Maybe?
I have rope. He blew up the window. Let's just go out the window.
Through the window.
You
Yeah.
have the magical rope?
It's just rope. It's just 50 feet of rope.
Mm.
I've got 50 feet of hardcore rope, I think, if I remember right. I paid for it. Just turned into a New Zealand accent for whatever reason.
Yeah. Well,
Silk rope, I think? Oh, no, I just have hempen rope. Just kidding.
as the party thinks this over, I will give you some time to think. We're going to end here as we've got some chaos ensuing. So next episode, we're going to start out coming in strong.
Do you want to start, like, when
Yeah.
you said rope, I run
Yeah.
over and I start tying it around that chest
Okay?
so I can throw it out the window.
Okay, as you're tying it around the chest, you can't pull the chest out of its place, so it's definitely strong enough for you, but we don't know about the others in the
Well-
party. It'll be fine. Oh, it'll be fine. It's only a 30-foot drop or whatever.
Sure, whatever.
Paul.
And with that, thank you for tuning into tonight's episode. We're gonna see how they get out next week. Players, if you're thinking of anything right now, mark it down as something you want to try, and we will definitely talk about it in 2 weeks. Sorry, on our first episode of October. As a note, since we play on the first and third weekends of the month, that means we also potentially play on the fifth weekend of the month. October has 5 weekends. It is October 30, and in previous years we've done spooky episodes. So, if you wish to join us on October 30, we will have a spooky episode as a bonus episode, potentially within the same storyline, but a bit more
On
spooky.
actual All Hallows Eve, too, right?
Yeah, on the 30th. So, join in. Saturday the 30th is our special episode. That's a handful of weeks out, but I'm trying to get it on your calendars. But before then, we have the first weekend and the third weekend of October. So let's...
Weekend with the scary door.
The weekend with the scary door. Oh, man.
Scary door.
Oh, man. Yeah, so...
Somebody gets it.
So, let's see. Jared, have you found a place for us to raid and send this raid train on?
Oh, I could do a thing.
Yeah, so if any of you stuck around from our Fire and Dice raid, we're going to raid another group, so please, please, please at least go say hi to this next group. We've enjoyed all of the bits, tips, follows, likes, snail
There's a Prime
mails,
sub in there, too.
tweets. Yeah, there's some 5 subs, some resubs. You guys are incredible. Thank you for joining in. We'll be back in a couple weeks. We're putting this out on VOD, so you can join back in, and we're also putting this out on podcasts, so go look at podcasts. You can look us up at herebedragonsdnd.com or through links on this Twitch page to see more. Have I spoken enough for you, Jared?
Yes.
Yes?
Yep, it started. We're
Alright.
ready to go whenever I push the button.
Let's push that button. Who are we raiding?
We are raiding Ladies of D&D. They are currently raising money for suicide prevention awareness.
Oh, yeah.
Love
Join in.
it.
Say hi,
Awesome.
say thanks.
Zelda's excited.
Yeah, dogs are happy over here. Let's do this.
Dogs are happy over here.
See you soon.
Bye, y'all.
And with that...